Chapter 61, Girls' Afternoon. Thank you for accompanying me to the city, Mikan said, smiling kindly at Sasha, who walked beside her, shaking her head. It is fine. I also wanted to go out for a little stroll. More and more people chose to open shops and try running a business after attending Lady Lucy's classes. She has nice boobs, but Mickey's are better. Yuri cut in from the other side of Mikan, no longer making the two girls flinch at her remarks. They simply walked on, not looking at her. What? No reactions? Tsk. I already learned that the best way to deal with you is to ignore you, Sasha quipped back, making her grin, but Mikan's answer was mellow in contrast. You went through a lot, Miss Uribicida. I do wish you would later on look at me as a friend so we could work on it, and I could grant you a happy life. Wah, babe, I'm in. We can fuck, no worries. I am already a concubine, so let me get you into the club. I know guys like to watch, so Leokchi won't be mad. I meant a less physical relationship, Miss Uribicida, Mikan murmured, blushing but somewhat getting used to her filthy mouth. Ignore her, Sasha commented, rolling her eyes. She is just a pleasure toy. Brr, you know how to fire me up, Sachi. We will have a great orgy tonight. We won't. Leon is busy with the printing press and compiling the books with Merlin, so the school gets equipped with all it needs as soon as possible. He needs rest, so the most we do is massage him, and that's it. Yeah, Lunchichi had already told me she is getting even better at sucking dick with all the practice you two are having every day. Miss Uribicida, please, Mikan begged, waving her hand as the trio exited the palace's grounds, going through the gate guarded by girls from Yuri's gang and entering the city itself. Since Yuri's official inauguration, her gang truly became the palace's guards, getting their own homes and maids to serve them. Worry not, Mickey. I won't shame you before civvies. Before who? The priestess gawked, never hearing that word before. Leokchi mentioned it. I liked how it sounded. It meant civilians in some way. That is how he explained it. The people, the guys and gals, the blood in the meat of a system. You get it? You are weird. I know, Sachi, but I am feeling good. Even the ministers are bowing to me, foo. I love this. I could go out, walk into any shop and take anything without batting an eye. Don't do that. Sasha stopped at once, warning her with an aura of power emanating from her whole being, making Yuri flinch for real. I won't, she mumbled, pouting. I'm just saying. I am not stupid. I won't jeopardize my and my girl's place. Did you know Leokchi said I should recruit more people? To your gang? Yes, I know. He told me about it. We will use up all our CC sooner or later, which is unsurprising. Your face is already known, so others will have to get it for us. You will have to organize it and not do it directly anymore. Ah, the good life, Yuri moaned, stretching, beginning walking again with a wide grin. Sitting back, moving pieces on the board, and no longer doing the hard stuff. This is what I dreamt of. I was surprised you could procure CC and this many to boot, Mikan added, sounding just as surprised as when she first heard it. It is not, really. Yuri replied to her, making Sasha remain silent as she was also interested in it. Why were there so many CCs so readily available? It was a question that was unimportant, yet the most important. A complete paradox. So, the two asked after Yuri failed to continue. You want to know more? She giggled, making it obvious she was teasing them. There are multiple reasons for it. First, mining CC is a massive operation with too many cogs to look after each and every one of them. Crumbs will fall to the sidelines. Do you think what I brought back is much? Or big? Bah, I saw real CC shipments once. There were pieces as big as a house. Do you get it now? That big? How? Sasha whispered, biting her thumb, her brain already coming up with methods to cut it and use it. That's what I'm saying, my pussy siblings. These crumbs I gathered are nothing. Chipped off parts from a big one. Scraps swept under a rug. Then there is another source, the Empire's enemies. Why would they be involved? Mikan asked, her eyes innocently waiting for Yuri's words. The Ishilia Empire has too many enemies. It has been making them for 2,000 years. They would be thrilled to see it implode on itself and are always looking for ways to make trouble for its rulers. I, I know that we haven't been the best neighbors. That is a mild way to put it, laughed Sasha and Yuri simultaneously, making them exchange glances before Sasha continued, turning her head away. What Yuri is saying is logical. The Empire is massive, and I am not surprised to see the underworld having CC sources provided to them by foreign agents. One rogue mage could do a lot of damage. There are examples of that, Mikan whispered after a brief silence, but we were taught they were traitors of the Empire, of its people, and most of all of the six gods. Ooh, do tell us, Yuri insisted, getting excited, wanting to hear more, especially the bloody details. That does sound interesting, Sasha agreed, holding Mikan's hand with a smile. Let's go to the bakery I told you about. We can buy something tasty, sit down, and you can tell us. What Mikan told them was more interesting to Sasha than to Yuri. She finally had a look into how the Empire looked at its mages and what type of fate she escaped from. After getting their creamy parfaits, they sat down outside enjoying the first sunny days of the spring they were finally getting. The last rebellious wizard appeared 150 years ago. Mikan began her tale, enjoying the simple yet delicious dessert. It is not taught to many. I learned about it because it was part of the education of new witches and wizards. We were not told his name. It was expunged from all records, along with his looks and origin. We were only told that he was a wizard with a low-level aptitude, most capable with lightning-based spells, up to intermediate-level formations. Whoa, I need more than that. Yuri raised her hand. What does aptitude have to do with anything? Oh yes. The Empire categorizes the strength of formations into the following levels: basic, intermediate, adept, expert, master. These are the main categories, and low-level aptitude meant that he could only cast spells up to the intermediate level by himself. Elysian was someone who could go up to the 5th tier all by herself. So she wasn't lying, she was mighty and influential in her time. From what we learned, all those who sat on the throne were master-level mages. I was only a basic bitch, Yuri said almost reflexively, blinking her eyes rapidly and doing something Sasha had never heard her do before. She apologized. Sorry, it was a bad habit. I used to have a friend who he always said was in sync. I sometimes can't hold back. She murmured, in a somewhat more melancholy voice than she realized, making the two girls look at her with a mixture of surprise and pity. Well, I did some stupid things, and I realize it now. I had time to review my life and know I wasn't using my own powers, but someone else's, who happened to live within me. Ultimately, she couldn't help but trail off, subconsciously stroking the bracelet on her wrist and playing with the CC secured within it. So what? Yuri snorted, unabashedly leaning over and taking a spoonful from her parfait. You are you. That bitch is living in you, so she should have paid the rent, no? It wasn't borrowing. It is within your body. It is just as much yours as hers. Plus, she kept silent for 20+ years. What type of psycho does that? I agree with Yuri. Sasha nodded, hitting the thieving concubine's hand with her spoon to stop her from eating out of hers too. That woman is wicked. You shouldn't feel bad about it or yourself. You now know what you are and what you will do in the future. Focus on that. I am just happy that the church did not find me and managed to escape. It was because they did not report you first, I think, Mikan replied, smiling softly and happily, no longer looking so lost. The Empire wouldn't have let you go if they knew. Every reported mage is collected and then kept within the inner city of the Ashilians. I was too, for 10 years. I could not leave the Academy's grounds and then the inner city for another 5 years. Only after that was I allowed to explore, but under the heavy supervision of the church, anyone with the aptitude of an adept or higher, they are kept under very close surveillance. In luxury, but they can never be free, and I don't think they want to leave either. Not those who are high-tiered. They can get anything. Yeah, with that power. I can imagine, Yuri murmured, licking her spoon very suggestively. I would want to stay close to the source of the Almighty, so yeah. Shit, imagine being capable of dropping the sun on others. How cool would that be? I will masturbate to that. Here we go. Sasha groaned, signaling to Mikan to ignore her. While they were sitting there, talking, they couldn't help but notice that a smaller crowd was gathering nearby and inside the shop too. The reason was simple. Sasha. No matter how direct she wanted to be, she was still the queen in everyone's eyes, and seeing her out, sitting there, enjoying a warmer afternoon, was gathering a crowd who wanted to see her. Maybe even meet her. The only reason nobody dared to come close was Yuri. Even those who didn't know who she was or what type of woman she was, the scars told enough. You will be cut down without mercy. What is it? Sasha asked, noticing that Yuri raised her head, scrunching her brows as if she was trying to listen to something, or had to sneeze. I heard something weird. I am not sure from where, but it sounded like bad-mouthing Mickey and her mommy milkers. The what of mine? No need to blush, they are big, she continued, wanting to grab them, but Sasha, like a mantis, slapped her hands away from Mikan. Ah ha ha ha, with every step you take they go, bowing, 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 and your ass sways like a professional dancer's bottom. Shite, I want to bury my head between your thighs and die. Squeeze me, mummy. I think it's time to go, Sasha said, raising her voice and standing up, making Mikan grateful as she had no idea how to handle her. She became so baffled that when standing up she managed to kick her own leg out, landing on her butt with a cute moan. See? Yuri grinned, watching Sasha's head go up and down as she followed the jiggling of Mikan's boobs. She is made out of jelly, one that you want to taste. Are you okay? Thank you, I'm fine. Luckily I am used to it, Mikan answered with an innocent smile while Sasha began helping her up. The glasses should arrive by summer, so it probably will help, I hope. I just… Ha! No witch ever was known to have a defective body, but I am not a witch, huh? Drop it, Yuri shouted, which was followed by such a loud slap that it silenced everyone, even the onlookers. Mikan forgot to yell out, barely even registering the stinging sensation, feeling her bottom jiggle and wiggle from the force of Yuri's palm. You are Mickey, Lyochi's future meat toilet. Act like it. Be proud of this true goddess-like body and own it. Glasses, even better, you can look at him without having too much cum in your eyes. They sting when it goes into it, you know. For a moment, not even Sasha knew what to say, as it was crude. Way too crude. And presumptuous. But it was a good, well, a piece of kind advice. Maybe. Yes, a type of advice only Yuri could give someone. Chapter 62, Avalon. Kargath. No, they wouldn't know what that means. Well, the winters are cold, so it could be helado or congelado. But they don't even know what Spanish is, so, again, no. Stare et monstre. They wouldn't get it, and I wouldn't name it after the battle where I almost died once. Peaceborn? Well, the Empire is anything but peaceful. I could name it after how we called our tank in the unit I served in, but they wouldn't know what to do with Botti. Ha! Naming a city is hard. Are you all right, Master? I flinched, looking up at Luna, who stood beside my table, patting my head as I sat up, fixing my unhealthy posture. You have been mumbling and looking like you are constipated, Master. You should rest, and I will change up your diet so… Nothing is wrong. It's not that. Really? Yep. I grinned, enjoying her gentle strokes on the top of my head. The thing I was fighting with is to decide what to name the city. Ha! It is important, but I have been unable to come up with something. You should rest. Just in the past 4 days, Merlin and you created around what? 50 books. 53. Yeah, we went a bit overboard, doing more than 10 books per day. But it was fun, and the school was wholly equipped in the end. Not to mention, I managed to give Kraus his book so he could start learning about CC. Naming things. Is it really that hard? Just call it something. Heh, dear Luna, I smiled, reaching out and grabbing her butt, squeezing it, making her jump. It is. Don't be cheeky. I know that as a woman, you have your motherly instincts within you to name your future kids. But don't tease your husband. What instincts? I am not even pregnant. Yet, she protested, almost yelling, wiggling her hips with apparent excitement. Yeah, I know that. I heard that my mother had begun training one of her chosen families to be well versed in trading medicine. She says it is for the city's future, but I know she wants them to bring back aphrodisiacs or something along that line. What? Really? I have never tried those yet. But it could work. There were rumors that some nobles love to use it in the capital. It is maybe what you need, master. You should try some out. Pfft, you little! I almost choked on my saliva, hearing her words. With a strong grab, I pulled Luna into my lap, locking her in place. How? I am sorry, she shouted as I flipped her skirt to spank her bottom. Bad girls need a good spanking, while good girls get to be gently caressed. You will get a spanking and a naughty punishment instead. How? Luna is sorry. Yeah? Then why are you wet? It's like someone already come a lot in. Master? She asked, looking over her shoulder, continue shaking her butt, looking a bit dejected because I stopped. My hand was still raised, but it never came down as my brain felt a jot within. That's it. I slapped down on her white bottom after almost a minute, making her yelp loudly before pulling her skirt down and raising her from my lap. What is it? She asked, rubbing her bottom, pouting that it was already over. I knew her well by now, and those twinkling, mismatched eyes were unhappy, not because I was punishing her, but because it was not enough of a punishment. You didn't come a lot? Not at all, she murmured, trying to be sneaky and silent, but I did hear her. Your instincts are right. That's what made me remember Camelot. The what? Ah, yes. So there is an ancient legend or fairy tale. I guess I can be lenient this one time and tell you a nice fairy tale instead of punishment, I answered, pulling her into my lap and making her shudder because of her reddened buttocks. There was a mighty king once called Arthur. I honestly should have thought about this earlier because his mage is already my mage. Master, it still says nothing to me. Please, slow down and start over. Sorry, so there is a legend of a magical sword, like a god's artifact. Are you following me? Its name was Excalibur. Yep, sword, Excalibur, gotcha. Now, there are two versions of this legend. One says the sword was stuck in a stone, and anyone who could pull it out becomes the king of the land. So this Arthur guy pulled it out. You could not do that. You are a thruster, not a puller. Sorry, she mumbled, lowering her head, missing that I could barely hold back my laughs. The other version, I continued fighting the urge to laugh. It says that he was gifted with the sword by the Lady of the Lake, a powerful magical entity. Ooh, I see. Like how the gods gave us those artifacts Mickey told us about. Yep, then Arthur became king, unified the land, and did all the cool things you can imagine. He had a wizard mentor whose name was Merlin. That is why I say I already got him. Huh, now I get when they say someone can't see the forest from the tree. Huh, does Merlin know he has a legend about him? Although it must be some ancient thing because I never heard it. Nope, he does not. But I will modify this legend a little and maybe write it down, tailor it to give the city a bit of mystery. People love stories like that. Anyway, what I am getting at is that Arthur built his own castle and named it Camelot. You want to name it that? Heh, Camelot. Camelot. Bwahahaha. This is something that I expected Yuri to say. Now that you mention it, yeah. But I also noticed you have been getting closer and closer to her, huh? I am not blind. I'm not against it before you ask. She needs friends. That way she can learn to act like a human and not a murder hobo. A what? Nothing. Do continue. I waved, not wanting to explain. Well, she is... okay. I guess. She is weird, but not as bad as Sasha says. But she can get carried away and become bitey. Whoa, what do you two do when I'm not around? Nothing, she answered hurriedly, yet turned red in the face. Oh well, she is a concubine, so whatever. But just so you know, and to get back to the topic, I won't name the city Camelot. Why? I thought you were explaining it to me because you would name it that. Nope. I have a better idea, mostly because you are right. Yuri would run with the joke as you wouldn't hold your mouth shut and tell her. For sure. Ooh. It will be Avalon. Who's that? As I mentioned, there was the Lady of the Lake version, where a magical entity gives him the sword. It happened on the island of Avalon. It was a magical, mystical place and where Arthur was buried after his death. Brr, it's ominous. Don't say it like that, she protested, acting just like Sasha does when topics like these arise. When we talked about how to handle dying citizens, she was too nervous, wanting to end the topic as fast as possible, no matter the conclusion. So we ended up with the law that the dead would be ceremoniously burnt and we would not establish cemeteries. The thing is, it fits, I continued, ignoring her protests. Avalon was a mystical place, a land of magic. I think that would be fitting for my city. It has the chance to turn out magical and beautiful. It has everything to become the true Avalon and already has more than one Lady of the Lake within it. Huh? Really? Who? Aren't you and Sasha my ladies, I asked, leaning forward and kissing her neck, making her moan and shiver. Huh. I guess, she mumbled happily, already spreading her legs and closing her eyes, but then the door swung open with a surprising force behind it. My lord, oh. Awa. I didn't see nothing. Then with a shout, Merlin slammed the door shut, and we heard him panicking, groaning, and blaming himself on the other side. Oh well, something important happened, it seems. We will continue later tonight, okay? I giggled, standing up and lifting her out of my lap. Although she was pouting, she didn't protest. She just fixed her clothes while I walked to the door, opened it, and saw the young wizard pacing back and forth. What happened? I asked, as if nothing happened, watching her tomato-red face. I did not know. I forgot. Excitement, Merlin bad, sorry, wah. Relax, kiddo, nothing bad happened. I am not angry. I laughed, patting his shoulders, calming him down. You grown up, huh? Did you learn something new? I remember you being nonchalant when that little accident happened, and Sasha took care of the aftermath. Luckily, both of you are better at handling CC now. That didn't happen. With a loud shout, he stomped at the place, his mana leaking out momentarily as his eyes filled with tears, making me chuckle even more. He learned about it, huh? I was now sure of it. Well, he is my prime minister and primary teacher, so I am not surprised. Okay, my lips are sealed. What happened? Luna joined us, but Merlin quickly shut her down, thinking she was asking about the old incident. Nothing. I mean, my lord, it's about the mines. Minister Paxson has come to me as the miners have made a huge discovery. Is it CC? I asked, but I saw Merlin flinch and lower his head. No. It isn't. Ah, sorry, I was carried away. I thought my luck would hold. So what is it? This, my lord, he answered by reaching into his pocket and pulling out a fist-sized gold nugget. Oh. I licked my lips, looking at it. Tell me there is more. Yes. This time his face was beaming happily, and even Luna forgot to be angry, watching the shining nugget in his hands. And a lot, my lord. A lot, I whispered, imagining something outrageous. But Merlin simply nodded again, repeating it. A lot. He did not lie. After we followed him to the throne room and listened to Paxson, I knew we had hit a jackpot. As the miners followed the iron ore, when they began expanding one of the caverns, gold literally began falling out of the walls. The chunks lying on the table were all at least fist-sized ores. They would still need to be melted down and whatnot, but I could already see the shining gold within them. Minister Paxson. Yes, my lord? He asked, bowing, unable to wipe off the smile from his face. Are you sure this is gold and not pyrite? Pyrite? He asked, mulling over it. But it was not a word he knew about. My lord, please forgive my lack of knowledge. What is pyrite? It is an ore that looks like gold, but is way harder, less dense, and less malleable. Ah, yes, fool's gold. It leaves a greenish tint behind when you scratch something with it. We call it that, my lord. I know of it, and I swear on my head, this is genuine gold. Great, I believe you. Send these to the blacksmiths and tell Kraus to make gold bars out of it. Hire more miners and begin excavating the gold immediately. Those who found it initially, promote them to group leaders and double their pay. With this, we can afford it. I hear and obey, my lord. I couldn't help but smile just the same as everyone in the room, finally turning towards Luna. Call Sasha over. She will have the honor to mark our very first gold reserves. With what? Luna asked curiously before leaving, but I only winked at her. with Avalon's crest. You'll see. Chapter 63, Paradox of Wealth. Visiting the gold mine eased a lot of my worries for the future. In the back of my mind, I was already thinking about how to finance the city come next year, when we will need to pay the tithe once again. With this, I could afford to let my people breathe and introduce taxes gradually, easing them into it without dropping it on them like cement bags from nowhere. Why the long face? We should celebrate by having an orgy. We are fucking rich. I knew who said it without looking up from my dinner, shrugging and slowly placing my spoon down. I wish, my optimistic concubine. Is it a boon? Yes. Is it a curse? Also yes. Curse? Yuri asked with a snort while I was having dinner with all of my wives and the newly trained maids surrounding us, waiting silently but also nervously. Not long ago they were only simple village girls, and now they were living within the palace, serving their rulers. Despite their lack of experience, Luna did a good job training them. She can be forceful when needed, which was surprising to witness while she whipped them into shape in merely a few weeks. Yes. Sasha answered her, raising her head slightly and giving Yuri a superior look. Any gold found would be the property of the Empire. We ought to report it and could not keep any of it. If we begin flaunting a wealth that came from nowhere, sooner or later, they would come down and investigate. So, we would kill them. We can't blame everything on bandits. I shrugged, as we may be able to get off with it 1 or 2 times, but not always. We may be able to bribe them, but I wouldn't go that route. Then, we can be blackmailed to oblivion and back. We can still mint coins from the gold, no? Luna asked, making me think, and once again it was Sasha who answered. We did think about it. She nodded, repeating what I told her previously. We can create molds, but those will need to be made from hardened steel. We would need to build and set up the required rolling mills, cutting presses and whatnot. But yes, in time, we would be able to mint our own coins and copy the Empire's official ones. That still leaves the problem. Where is the wealth coming from? It does not answer it. So, are we going to just sit on it? Be rich without being rich? That sucks. We can set up a closed circulation of money. I interjected, we can create our own currency that is used solely within our territory. It is the easiest way to swap the Empire's coins with our own at a 1.1 exchange rate. But that would be weird, Luna mumbled, not really understanding it, thinking of a question she wanted to ask. Most of the people living here, I continued when she paused, never leave this region. They are born here, grow up and die here. Even if some leave, they are treated as second-class citizens after it's found out they are from the frontier. Using the Empire's coins or ours would make no difference for them. With a 1.1 exchange, they would not be against it. We can make it into a law, Sasha nodded as we explained it in tandem, that our territory only accepts our money from now on. We are isolated, and most of our outside trading goes through Minister Louise. Kahum. She is already working on the foundation of our merchant guild. Only they will be allowed to undertake trading with the other regions. Then, we can use the collected imperial coins to finance our future traders who will venture out and establish our first independent trading routes. They will have real money to use, and when they come back, they can exchange their profits for our coin, as it would be the only accepted currency in our borders. Of course, if they want to keep some imperial coin to themselves, so be it. I would not force them to give back everything, but they would have to pay tariffs. I added with a smile, seeing Luna opening her mouth, ready to ask her question. The money coming out and coming in must be in an equilibrium. If they go out and spend it all and can pay nothing when they return, then what? Yuri asked, making me smile. She knew exactly what to ask. If it happens once, they will go into debt. If it happens multiple times, they will be out of the Merchants Guild and forced to pay it back either with labor or with goods. But once out of the guild, you are out forever. It can work, Sasha agreed, looking at the rest with an excited smile. Later on, we can even raise the exchange rate once we have enough inventions to back us up. Then, we can say that one of our coins is worthy of 2 imperial coins. Or 3. We are still small, only a city, as 90% of the population of the frontier now lives here. We can make it work, and build on it in the future. This would allow us to control the economy and make it stable. It works because we are not an empire, and if in the future we become one, we can gradually expand on it. And don't forget, Sasha said with a happy giggle, those traders who will leave our territory to establish routes to other regions will go with the intention to sell and not to buy. We aim to become independent and produce everything locally, not to find new dependencies. So, are we rich or not? Yuri asked again, shrugging. Not yet, I laughed, finishing my dinner, but we will be. This gold mine will kickstart the change needed to begin our move toward independence. Of course, it will be a slow and gradual change. I will have to maintain the facade until we are strong enough. The traders leaving from here will bring away my inventions, all made to be unique or luxurious, aiming to catch the nobility's eyes. Why are you looking at me like that? Luna asked, because indeed I was glancing at her while clarifying, I no longer think you are barbarians. Meanie. I am happy to hear that, and with this move, I will try to make it so other nobles change their thinking too. Doing it would be entirely within legal compliance, and I would still pay the tariffs, taxes, tithe, whatever, even pay more than usual, reflecting our success, so they will leave us alone. It needs a careful dance of balance, but if done right, we can mask ourselves and hide our true wealth and strength, until we are ready to secede. You are the boss, said Yuri while stretching. If you think it will work, sure. I was just curious how much money I was worth now being your fuck toy. Your weight in gold, I joked, but she took it seriously, her eyes lighting up. Shite, I should eat more then. If you fatten up as much as my late uncle, I will use you as monster bait in the winter. Pfft, relax. A good fucking is the best exercise. I will stay in shape. Luna mumbled, trying to cut in the weird conversation. What inventions are you planning to sell? If they are artifacts, it could be a horrible idea. I know, I am working with Sasha on some interesting things. Nothing concrete yet, but unique inventions that I hope will make the nobles want to pay for it. I will test it on Elliot. Hey, Yuri hummed, standing up and looking at me and Sasha. Instead of her, what do you say if you finally work on me? To her surprise, I wasn't waving her off at all. Instead, I exchanged a glance with my wives, who both nodded, forming a small smile, making her blink her eyes multiple times. Really? Finally, let's go. I'm burning down there. I just hope not because of some infection, I added with a whisper, now having some second thoughts. What happened later that night was not something I expected. It was as if Luna and Sasha had planned it all along. Before Yuri had any chance to make a move, a familiar bracelet clicked onto her wrist, thanks to Luna's quick reflexes. Then it was Sasha's turn to activate it, and before long, slimy purple tentacles came from nowhere, tying up Yuri. Whoa, this feels hardcore. I knew you were my pussy sisters. What's next? She wasn't bothered by her sudden predicament and just stood there, her torso tied as the slimy mucus made her body shine. We don't trust you yet. You could injure him if you are too wild, so we will keep an eye on you. Fine by me. My hips are still free, she added, continuing to laugh. I can shake them. What's happening? That was the only thing I could ask, as I did not expect to see anything like this. The two didn't answer me. Instead, they tore off Yuri's clothes before laying her down on the bed, spreading her legs before me. Foo, girls, one of you should use one of these wriggling tentacles. The other one can sit on my face. She is Yuri, Luna murmured, blushing, gently moving her hips, but Sasha was more ready and not persuaded by her. You would bite us, so no. Just a bit. Pain makes it more fun. By then, I was also willing to join because the weirdness of this foursome was more exciting than I had expected. Or do the tentacles count as another entity? They are fleshy to the touch. Is this an orgy now? Well, I won't ask because Yuri would suggest inviting more people, but I wasn't keen on sharing my wives with anyone else. They can fool around with each other, but that's it. You have been through a lot, huh? I whispered, climbing onto the bed, surprising Yuri, who suddenly fell silent, and the other two somewhat eased their grip on her. It was evident from just looking at her. Although her pussy wasn't scarred or looked sick, her thighs were marked by claw-like patterns, and below her navel there were multiple burn marks, as if someone pressed cigars into her body. Are we going to fuck or what? She asked, getting impatient and, for the first time, troubled that I was looking at her for so long. No, we won't, I answered, surprising all three of them as I did look ready for it, no matter how they examined me. My body wasn't lying. I didn't explain myself, I simply touched the bracelet, knowing it full well, plopping the CC out and cancelling its effects. By then, both of them had let her go and merely watched as I leaned above Yuri, caressing her face. We will make love. Trust me, it will be a nice experience. I saw that she wanted to say something, so I silenced her with a kiss. Of course she bit me, but I wasn't budging, letting her do it while I continued kissing. Soon, her aggressiveness faded from her mouth, stopping to bite and trying to return the kiss. She was terrible at it. She wasn't used to doing it correctly and was trying to mimic me but failing at it. Stop rushing, I whispered as if I was educating her. Don't try to get it done at once. Sex needs to be enjoyed. Let me teach it to you. I began caressing her rough, injured body and could feel that many of her wounds were not from battles but from pure torture. I don't know what kind of partners she had or what else she got herself into, but I could discern injuries that were aimed at killing or that were aimed at her to inflict pain and suffering. I knew I was doing well when she suddenly moaned, looking away, blushing, which was so unlike her that my body stiffened. She is ready, Sasha whispered to me, hugging me from behind, also naked, holding my member, placing it in Yuri's wet and glittering hole, and guiding me in. I could hear from her voice that she was pitying her and wanted to let her enjoy it. Maybe my words did awaken something in them, because Luna was also hugging Yuri's body, kissing and licking her wounds, so to speak. The whole thing was surreal, yet beautiful, and I think this was the first time in Yuri's life that she had actual sex. I wasn't harsh, I didn't hurt her, and she was being caressed by all of us. I saw that she didn't know what to do with it and became panicky, avoiding eye contact, turning her into a young girl, someone who may have been hiding deep within her all this time. What I knew at that moment that I wanted to show her what's the difference between casual sex and being intimate. When morning came and I woke up, the girls were still sleeping except Yuri. I saw her sit at the edge of the bed, hunched forward, and when I climbed over, I noticed the wet splotches on her trembling hands. Hey, I whispered, hugging her shoulders, which made her flinch. She looked at me, confused, her lips quivering. I hate this. Why did it feel so good? It's okay. I hugged her head close, which she let me do, beginning to sob. It's not. I'm a bad bitch. This softy whore is not me. I don't deserve. Shh. I said it was okay. You are now part of my harem, and if I say it is okay, it is okay. Got it? Sure. Whatever, she whispered, crying and laughing at the same time. You are the worst. Was I that bad? Surely not. You moaned loudly and even squirted at me before I could come. Twice. That's why. You are the worst. You made me enjoy it. Glad to hear. After that, she didn't say anything and let me caress her back and head until she calmed down. What she didn't notice was that my eyes met with Sasha's, who woke up not long after me. Seeing us, she only nodded with a small smile, remaining lying there, pretending to be asleep until Yuri managed to regain her composure and left the room. Chapter 64. Every Days. It was a cloudless morning, and the sun was slowly beginning to peek over the horizon. The city was still asleep, but Marka was already up and working in her shop. After going through multiple applications and tests, she finally was granted a place that served not just as her new home, but also as her shop. The second floor was for her and her husband, while the first housed her little store. And in the back, she even got her personal workshop set up by the ministry. In there, she could try mixing her herbs and working on her concoctions, finally experimenting in the way she had always wanted. To help her out, her husband Isharia has begun taking up lessons in school and applying for a permit to become a local trader. When he finally finishes, he will be allowed to travel the region, buy or harvest ingredients from the farmlands, and bring them back to the city. She was a bit bummed out when he failed the test to acquire the permit to leave the region and trade with other parts of Ishilia, but it was enough. Most of her herbs and plants came from locally anyway. What she was most happy with was that they let her sell her medicine and even encouraged her to experiment. However, the Prime Minister did send over a small printed booklet detailing all the rules and regulations she must follow. "Today is going to be a nice day," she moaned with a smile hanging on her face, the door to her shop wide open, just finishing sweeping the floor. Looking at the shelves and her counter, filled with little bottles with printed labels, Marka couldn't help but smile even wider. It was something new and unusual, and she was amongst the first batch of store owners who were given the unique opportunity. Around a week ago, the Prime Minister invited her and a dozen others to a conference, where they got to meet their king, no, their sovereign, Leon. It was something none of them expected. She even panicked a little, not wearing her best clothes. What surprised everyone was that he went around, shaking hands with everyone, showing them around, explaining the printing machines and how they were developing something new and wanted us to test it. All of them, including Marka, had a chance to design so-called posters, or labels for their shops, which could then be applied to their products, shelves, or windows for what the sovereign called advertisement. When it was her turn, she went ahead and designed something that she could stick onto her bottles, detailing everything the customers had to know. With the printing press, she was floored by how easy it was to create and copy words onto paper, and she was allowed to do multiple tests until she got it right. She even had a chance to meet with her queen, Sasha, who was maybe the most well-known woman in the region. As everyone knew, she had risen from being an urchin to the most powerful woman in this part of the empire. It was she who helped her create the tags she envisioned by making a new set of small metal letters and decorative shapes, printing out the instructions on a downsized label, something that would be easy to fit on her bottles. It was at that moment Marka finally realized why learning to write and read was mandatory. It was already impossible to return to a time when very few were bothered to gain these precious skills. "I wonder," she murmured, looking towards her workshop, gripped by a new idea since she returned from the meeting. When she got her order, they came with instructions. She received a jar of something. A thick, odorless and colorless cream that was a newly developed invention made from demonic beasts' liver fluids. She knew because she asked what it was and was given a fully detailed description of it. She only had to spread it over her bottles, apply it thinly, stick the paper label onto it, press it hard for a minute, and then it was stuck to it. The only way to get it off was to use soap and warm water. "I may be able to recreate it." For the past day or two, she has been experimenting with grounding down multiple flowers and plants, trying to come up with a similar solution. Magical beasts are available in limited quantities, not to mention the danger they pose. If she could create something with the same properties, she could help the city and earn some recognition. Her name may be memorialized, just like Perth's. "Did you even sleep?" asked a kind, gentle voice, making Perth jolt out of his thoughts while sitting beside a stack of burnt-out candles. "Huh? Sorry, I was zoning out." "Put it down, dear." He only nodded, letting his wife take the drawings out of his hand, organizing them into a stack and beginning massaging his shoulders, almost making him fall asleep at once. "Oh, it is already morning." "Yes, so come, it is time for you to rest. I will need to finish these plans, so—" "No, sleep, now. Your deadline is in 2 months. Relax a little. First, they will begin building the temple anyway. You have time to finish the plans for the decoration." "Yes, but it will need to be submitted, reviewed by Minister Renar, and approved by Minister Mikan. What if it gets rejected? Then I need to rework it, and I will go over my deadline then." "That does not mean you can work yourself sick," his wife said commandingly, getting angry and dragging him to bed. "If you appear like this in the palace, they will kick you out. You look like your friends when they leave the tavern every night. I wouldn't lay with you looking like this, humph." "Ha, got it, got it. And they are no longer my friends. The moment they learned I was working on the temple, they called me names. They were never your friends then. They should have been happy about your promotion, and you could have also lifted them up the same way. It is their loss, dear. Our son will soon be of age to attend school, and I want him to grow up to be someone who will become a minister." "Huh, is that even possible?" Perth asked, smiling, but his wife's eyes were deadly serious. "In Avalon, everyone has the chance to become someone." "Slowly. That's it. I whispered, not wanting to be a nuisance for Sasha, but I couldn't help contain my excitement. I was with her in the workshop, letting Karis and the other head blacksmiths look on as she operated the forge. What we were doing was something that only she could accomplish, being utterly immune to the heat, handling molten metal as if it were nothing. I honestly don't know if this is because of her magic affinity or because she is special. Elysian's words are still scraping against the back of my mind, and I was honestly beginning to believe she was unique. With her delicate fingers, she was crafting tiny gears and thin pieces of watch hands made from gold because we were constructing a pocket watch. The idea came to me from Luna, who one day complained we didn't have any towers with a clock on them. She always had to guess the time, which made me realize the issue. I was so used to just looking at the sky, concluding it was morning, day, or evening, that I totally forgot about it. Thinking back, I knew we had one big clock in the castle that was, funnily enough, not working. Father said it was there way before he became the owner of the castle, and it has been broken ever since, so it wasn't a big deal for me to deconstruct it. There was nobody here to fix it anyway. From that, along with Sasha and Kraus, we drew up a rudimentary blueprint and got to work. It took multiple days for Sasha and I to refine it, making it smaller, smaller, and even smaller, until we finally had something I could call a pocket watch, at least on paper. It would still be the size of a handheld calculator, so it's not exactly pocket-friendly, but oh well. It would still be a novelty because, going by Luna's words, the most miniature clocks were still human-sized. Finally, we reached the point where we could begin creating the first prototype, which Sasha made by hand. While crafting it, we had the opportunity to iron out all the problems and devise the tools Kraus and the rest would need if they wanted to reproduce it. When all the parts were done and finished, it was my turn to sit down, assemble it, and hope that nothing went wrong in the process. Meanwhile, Luna had the task of setting up a sundial in the palace's garden so I could determine the time of noon and help me set my first watch. When, after a lot of cursing and mumbling to myself, I finished it and I winded it up for the first time and saw its hands beginning to tick, I felt a kind of accomplishment that I could not explain. It was nothing like anything I experienced before, and I couldn't help but hug and shower Sasha with kisses. It was a perfect job. All the miniature gears and whistles it needed worked perfectly. Putting it together was a nightmare, but all of it was worth it. "Can I get one too?" Luna asked as she looked at it, her eyes sparkling, watching the gold chassis and the clear glass over its polished metal face. I made sure it was looking good, so the numbers were all painted gold too, contrasting with the darker color of the metal dial. What was maybe the most challenging part was creating the glass for it. What we could do in my region was only colored or rough-looking glass. Nothing that clear I was used to in my time. Still, I melted down some of the clear glass reliquaries brought away from the old church from the time when we raided them. Soon, I smiled, rubbing Luna's head. "This one is going back to the workshop. This is just the first prototype. It will be what the others can study, take apart, and put back together. It was meant to be theirs, so they learn how to make it." "What? This could be worth a lot. Sasha worked hard to make it. And I can't be always there making it. This showed that the blueprints work. This watch can be replicated. Now they must develop the method and precision to make it themselves." "Exactly." I nodded, smiling at my wives. "They are probably already bored with making metal pipes day in and day out. So this will be perfect, occupying them for a long time. Especially those who want to aim for the Forge Master role later. Making the metal parts for the printing press already gave them the basic tutorial on making miniature items. This will be the advanced part. We still have around a year. Besides the glue and this watch, we can come up with a few more luxury items for the nobles." "Glue? Really?" Luna smiled, twitching her mouth, but Sasha just patted her head. "You would be surprised. In manufacturing, it would be very useful. Mekan told us, when we asked her about glasses, that people who can make clear glass or know the technique to engrave on it are all sought-after craftsmen and guard their secrets close to their hearts. Now you can just print out a label and stick it on things. Much cheaper. One tub of our glue could be used around 1,000 times before going empty. What do you think then?" "It can be a flop," I interjected, chuckling. "We don't know, but we will try. No bad things can come from it. We will see what sticks." Hey, arrived Yuri's voice, interrupting us, entering the garden. The head kiddo has come to report something. Merlin? I turned towards her, a bit surprised. Did he say what happened? Yeah, he said that someone made a surprising discovery. Don't tell me it is another gold mine, I quipped as we walked over, watching her shake her head. Nah, he said that a woman made something smell nice. And, Luna shrugged, we already have scented soap. How nice, I asked, my mind racing about what it could mean, and then I smelled it. White. Stepping closer, Yuri simply grinned, showing a V sign. This is nice. True, Sasha murmured, also leaning in, sniffing at Yuri. He brought some samples. They are in small bottles. Pretty cool if you ask me. I like it. Me too, I whispered, my thoughts already counting the coins we could earn with this. My scented soap was lovely, but it was a rudimentary little thing. This was full-on perfume from the modern days. What the hell? Chapter 65. Alchemy. Coming into the throne room, I saw the little vials on the minister's desk first, before I noticed the nervous girl standing there. She was letting Merlin take notes and examine the products, mumbling to himself. I remembered her face because she was one of the more interesting shop owners, questioning many things with a purpose and not just to show interest. She was asking for explanations to better herself, showing that she had a curious mind, which I was glad to see. My lord, Merlin exclaimed excitedly, waving me over hurriedly, this is something outstanding. It is not really, the woman murmured in response. What was her name? Ah, yes. Marka. It is an accident, if anything. Not all accidents are bad, I answered with a smile, taking the vial from Merlin's hands and smelling it before passing it to the girls. It reminded me of lilac. The others loved it the moment they got their hands on it and managed to use it up by the time the bottle was returned to the table. Do you plan to sell them? I thought about it, yes. She answered, her fingers constantly fiddling with the edge of her clothes, not knowing where to look, trying to avoid my gaze, thinking it would be rude to look directly into my eyes. Don't sell it cheap, I chuckled, glancing at Merlin, who was nodding rapidly. Luna? Yes? Please, go and bring us some snacks and refreshments. On it. Her maid reflexes immediately came to the forefront, and by the time we sat down, she was back with more maids, serving us a complete afternoon snack party. I have an offer for you, Miss Marka. Ah, my lord, you remember my name? I have a good memory, I answered with a smile, taking a cookie away and munching on it while looking at the others. I saw Sasha nudging Merlin, who returned to being a kid, wanting to eat all the sweets at once, already making a mess on his plate. Yuri was mainly focused on her tea, keeping one eye on Marka, and I could tell she was ready to intervene if anything happened, however unlikely it was. What I want to say, I continued, is that I could use them. I needed something I could sell to other nobles, and you came just at the right time. Really? She asked, looking excited, happy and proud at the same time. Yes? How many can you make? And how hard is it to produce them? Producing it isn't that hard. I was trying to reproduce the glue your lordship has made. Are you trying to reverse engineer it? Merlin asked, going really serious for a moment, scaring Marka. She just realized that it was probably not a good idea, especially without asking for permission for it first. It was made by the royal family after all. It's fine, I chuckled, raising a hand. It is not a state secret or anything. Please continue. Well, she fidgeted, taking a sip from her tea, moistening her suddenly dry lips and throat. I was thinking that beasts are hard to come by, so I could replicate it and make it more readily available. I knew multiple plants growing in abundance around these parts that could produce some sticky residue after being smushed enough. I managed to create glue, but it was unlike your lordship's. It is much more sticky and thicker. Also, it smelled weird and was dark green. How sticky is it? I asked, getting even more interested than before. Very. I glued 2 pieces of wood together. They came apart only after breaking it. The problem is that it hardens really fast, so if I leave it in a bottle, it becomes unusable in an hour or so. I have yet to produce any dissolving solutions, so they are less usable than yours, my lord. With your lordship's glue, if the bottles are returned, I can wash the sticker off and apply a new one. It saves me a lot in expenses. I always tell my customers that they can buy the next potion a bit cheaper if they return my bottles. Good thinking. I chuckled, appreciating that she caught on to it so quickly. I am also interested in your version. When you have some, please forward it directly to my Prime Minister. Yes, my lord, I will produce its recipe because it is best to make it fresh. She nodded her head so fast that I thought it would fly off at any moment. How did you turn glue into perfume? Sasha asked, wanting to hear more, enjoying its aroma. It wasn't something that would disappear after a few minutes. Sitting next to my wives made me feel like I was having tea in a beautiful garden surrounded by blooming flower beds. This wouldn't be some cheap knockoff in my previous life either. That happened when I was trying to make the glue more malleable. I went overboard, and the result was something that was no longer that sticky, but it became very stinky. So stinky, it made it hard to stay within my workshop. In fact, ahahaha. I couldn't help but follow suit and also chuckle, seeing her nervous and embarrassed expression. So when I tried to create a solution that would dissolve it and deal with the stink, I managed to make this. It was an accident because I added the wrong amount of fruit oil to it and, well, this happened. I was surprised at how strong its smell became and how long it remained within my shop. I immediately knew it was something good. Oh, it is, I nodded, unable to wipe the smile off my face. Maybe I am facing my future alchemist, huh? I could call her a biologist, chemist, or something similar, but alchemy sounds more fun. We already have magic anyway. Can you write up the procedure you did when producing them? I already have it, my lord, Merlin interjected, passing it over me, turning red in the face when he noticed the paper's edges were filled with chocolate stains and dark fingerprints. Wonderful. I nodded, not mentioning it, scanning the names and steps and sighing within my head. I understand precisely 0 of it. The plant's names? No idea. It probably has multiple ones that were not even available in my previous life. The mixing of the solutions? Beats me. My glue was nothing serious either. I just realized while dissecting beasts to prepare the meat for the soldiers that besides some gold-colored paint, I could get this sticky substance from their liver when I mixed it with cold water. With melted snow, in fact. That was it. There was nothing big behind it at all. Marka here was a born chemist. No, alchemist. She had experience with the local plant life and had been working with them since she was young. While pretending I was analyzing her recipes, I was thinking about what to do with her. She had to be promoted in a way, and I was thinking where to put her. I could make her serve under Mikan, but I said she won't have any power under her, and if Marka develops some healing potions, that would be counted as a potent force. So that was out of the question. Well, until Marka develops a bit more and maybe becomes a minister herself, I will put her under Zita, my Minister of Agriculture. Excellent, Miss Marka. I spoke up, putting the paper on the table, smiling at her. I will notify Minister Zita. From now on, you will report to her. You will be obligated to show any new inventions to her, presenting them in a written format, just like this recipe. Through the ministry, you will get the support of the state. We will permit you to harvest any type of plants, and any new discoveries will be yours to name. Really? She asked, inhaling sharply, almost sounding like she was squealing. Yes, I need them written down, named and catalogued, because when you have enough material, we will print it out as a book, and Merlin will introduce it into the curriculum. Miss Marka, you are going to be my first alchemist. Alchemist? The others asked, looking at me. Only Luna was unsurprised, tilting her head and adding with a thinking voice, Alchemists in the capital usually serve noble families. I only knew a few of them. They usually created tonics for health or made some kind of weird exploding bombs. They are a weird bunch. Ahaha, hopefully Miss Marka won't blow us up. Never. I would never, she panicked, waving her hands around like a windmill. Relax, Miss Marka. I was just joking, ahahaha. For now your title will remain unofficial. I need more products, recipes, and proven solutions to make it official. After that, we will talk about the future expansion of your shop and title, maybe even setting up a guild around it. For now, please focus on creating more perfumes. I need more of it, and we will pay you well. I will not fail, my lord, promise. I only ask you to do what you are good at, Miss Marka. Success will come if the effort is there. We continued with some small talk after that, and when the cookies were gone, Luna and Yuri escorted her out, while I remained behind with Merlin and Sasha, telling them my honest thoughts. It is a good idea. My wife hummed after thinking it through. Her knowledge of plants seems deep, and if she compiles it, it will be easy to teach the children and discover similar talents. Yes, I am already interested in her recipes. Is there something that you are not interested in, Merlin? I grinned, ruffling his hair and making him laugh sheepishly. You too, I added, leaning in and kissing Sasha. Your brain triumphs mine. You learn just as quickly as Merlin. Is this some kind of magical advantage? Of course, none of them could answer me, and I didn't need to know. I was just happy that that was the case. I felt happy. In my old life, I was just as swarmed with work, no matter where I was. There was no stopping, whether on the battlefield or back in civilian life. But right now, I was enjoying it. I felt alive. I felt as if I could take on any problems, and when I woke up, I didn't moan or groan, cursing the sun for sending me on another run in the hamster wheel of life. As we headed more into spring and the weather was clearing up more and more, we also spent more time outside. Sometimes I visited the site of the outer walls, seeing them being built, or looked at where the temple would stand. I did notice the voices, some against the idea, some indifferent to it, but nobody has protested to stop it yet. No wonder, because going against a noble's orders was always punishable by death. Even if I had no motivation to enact it, I don't know if this is good, that my decisions rarely get any pushbacks, or if it's something I should be worried about. It does make me a bit uneasy, not knowing if I was doing well or not. As one of my exes once said to me when we broke up, it is complicated. Oh well, time will tell. It always does. What a neat little ability, Mr. Time. Anyway, I didn't have too much time, no pun intended, to get paranoid as my focus shifted once again. It was time to begin building the water-purifying castellum. I was only present with its planning, drawing up the primary blueprint. From then on, it was Renard and Paxson's job to function together and direct their subordinates so the work would go smoothly. Sasha was occupied with the purifying formation that would go into it, performing together with Merlin to refine it and create new prototypes for testing, as the two had some renewed ideas while making it. Yuri was accompanying Oleg as the first batch of officers and soldiers were ready to enter service, while Luna was either lazing in my room, reading, masturbating, or sleeping. I did catch the little perv once doing it on our bed, arching her back like a little kitty cat, so I made sure she accompanied me for the rest of the day without panties on. Where are we going? She asked, holding down her skirt with two hands, not wanting any sudden winds to lift it up. We are visiting the forge, I answered, walking ahead of her. Kraus's disciples are waiting for me as they finish my new coin's first prototypes. I just need to choose which one it will be. Not Kraus? No, he is out, working with the rest on the purifiers. They are also fitting the first heating pipes onto it while building, and he is one of the site directors. Minting coins were left to his chosen disciples. I like how he operates. My guess is that he will remain my forge master for a long time. Master, slow down. You are walking too fast, she moaned, trying to catch up with tiny steps. You had no problem with it before. I have no panties on. Bully, she cried, then looked around, hoping nobody heard her. I know, I answered with a grin, pulling it out from my pocket and waving it around my index finger as I continued walking. Not fair, Mustier, how? Don't do that. Come, come. If you can't keep up, I will make you wear it on your head. Chapter 66. Midnight Talks. Visiting the forge, I couldn't help but smile, not just because I saw the finished coins on a desk, prepared and polished for me, but because Luna was so fidgety, trying her hardest to keep her skirt down. My lord, the current head disciple said, greeting us with a bow and nervous excitement. Mm-hmm. I nodded back, looking at their faces, memorizing them one by one. Good work, everybody. Kraus should be proud that he can already leave tasks like this to his subordinates. Work hard, and one day you will have your own forge, or even be named Forge Master. I watched as my compliment eased their worries a lot, and we could turn toward why I was here. The prototypes of my future coin. There were 4 of them, all made from gold, uniform in size, precisely 26 millimeters in diameter. They were relatively thin, but not so much that they would deform from use. The thing that separated them was their design, embossed onto their surfaces. The first one was smooth, clean, almost too clean, with a slight strip in the middle. The second one was decorated with the logo of the new banner I designed. I was thinking hard about what to put on our future flag, and ultimately I went with something simple, an olive wreath. I don't know if it has any meaning similar to those in my old life, but it felt appropriate. What I learned from this world's history is that most rulers wear some kind of fancy crown when appearing at public events. Well then, I will not. Let's make it different. I liked the second coin, making a mental note as my eyes moved onward. The third one looked the most intricate. It had a stylized A in the middle, representing Avalon, as I learned after I asked them why. I liked this one too, but it was too much. Mass producing them would be more complicated than minting something simple. But it could be some kind of collectible, or maybe I could use this in other things, like adopting it as my seal, turn it into a stamp from a coin. Then the last one was another version I liked. It had the letter I in the middle with a decorative piece above it, while the images of mountains were visible in the back. Well, when I asked again what it meant, it turned out it was not just an I, but the representation of our old heraldry, the tower. Officially, it was still the banner of the frontier, and I liked the idea of incorporating it into our new currency. When I asked about the dot above it, the one who made it said it represented the sun, the new dawn that I brought to this land. Huh. I did not expect something profound like this, but an idea quickly came to my mind. This. I pointed at the last coin, looking at the others. I like all of them, but I will choose this. Combine this with the first, the smoothest one. Lose the mountains, keep the I, turn the other 2 into stamps. I will use the one with the A as the official stamp of the ministry. Any government document has to be marked by it to come into effect. The olive wreath will be my personal one. Anything I stamp with it will be as good as my direct words. It was clear that they were excited hearing it, as this would mean all 4 would be used in a way. I let them talk amongst themselves a little before I raised my hand so I could continue. I want 3 versions of the new coin. One would be made out of gold. It will be the one that is worth the most. The second one should be more silver-like, so you don't need to use pure gold, and you can make the last one from iron. We need the same number of versions as the imperial coinage if we want to exchange it successfully. I explained to them, giving the group the direction they should work towards. I wanted to make the exchange before winter. After we left, Luna was no longer that fidgety, holding the 4 coins in her hand as I let her keep it. She even forgot to worry about not wearing any panties while playing with them. Made from iron. Heh, people in the capital would laugh at you. Really now? I chuckled, peeking at her. They use bronze, silver, and gold. Is that really different? Duh, iron is for making weapons and tools. Money is a tool. See? I smiled, rubbing her head. I will keep the exchange rate. I think my people will switch over quickly, as they will only notice that the type of coins they own changed their looks rather than their value. 20 iron coins are for 1 silvery, and 10 silvery are for 1 gold. With our mines constantly expanding, I noticed that ores are one resource we have in abundance. Maybe we will find a silver mine too. Who knows? For now, the coin just has to be silvery in color to differentiate it, and it will be fine. With this, the currency exchange can begin, and I can start paying my people properly while keeping the imperial coins for trading. With the I on it, people may call yours the imperial coin too. She chuckled, which was true, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. The night sky was clear, and the big full moon showered the city with its silver light, yet not everyone was happy about it. A few stray souls, slinking around, trying to muffle their steps on the stone roads, constantly kept to the shadows between the buildings, heading to one house built in the outer skirts of the city, close to the almost completed walls. 3 knocks quickly, then 1 after a brief pause on its wooden doors. They were waiting, looking around to see if anyone who shouldn't have maybe heard the knocks. It filled the figures with nervousness, fidgeting under their ebony blankets. Finally, after what seemed to be an eternity, the door opened, ushering them in. "Were you followed?" a whispering male voice asked, being answered by a similar hushed tone. "Of course not." Okay, come, let's go to the basement." When the group of 6 finally felt safe under the house, like rats, they lit multiple candles and pulled back their hoods. If Perth was there, he would recognize them as they were his childhood friends, clearly led by Sorbo as they were meeting in his house. "Good to see everybody is here. Tomak, Luca?" He nodded toward the newest associates of their little group. They were no random additions, as they were assigned to work on building the city's temple. "Are we really going to do this?" another voice asked, making everyone look at him, watching the shortest man in the group. "We are, Nach. Don't get cold feet now. Wasn't your first wife left to die from sickness? The church did nothing but gave a blessing that did not work, then claimed she was saved by returning her soul to Goddess Orsi. A lot of horseshit, that is." "Now," he continued, lowering his voice and looking at the others, "we must ensure they will not finish the temple. I don't think we can truly prevent it." Tomak shrugged, beginning to explain, "The ground has been already flattened. We will soon start laying the foundations. Half of the stones are being transported over, while the other half is being carved out. The temple is supposed to be finished by the end of summer, certainly before autumn. We just need to delay it enough that they deem it unworthy or take it as a sign not to build it." Sorbo pressed on, wholly engrossed in the idea of stopping the return of the church. "There will be hundreds working on it," Luca added, looking at him and the rest. "If we try to sabotage it, we have to be smart and subtle about it. We can screw with the cement, for example. Working with it on the wall, I learned a lot about how it's made and handled. That is why I have been sent to work on the temple." "You want to say you are better builders than us?" Okora, another member of Sorbo's group, asked, making Luca smile a little. "Yes, but that is not important now. I can do it, but I need more help. Just the 2 of us alone won't be able to pull it off." "What would that do?" Sorbo asked, making the 2 newcomers chuckle, feeling truly superior towards them. "Make the structure unstable," Tomak whispered, subconsciously lowering his voice, afraid someone would overhear. "Then some of you can sneak there in the darkness and make it collapse. That would be enough damage and setback to the project. It would make people rethink whether we need a temple or not." "Yeah, that sounds good." The rest agreed, thinking about it, feeling fired up. "We can do it. While working on the temple, you can find more people who think like us." Sorbo said, "Invite them, and we can build up our forces. The church won't return to our land, not if we have anything to say." His words reinforced their thoughts, as everyone present had something against the church. They either lost a family member or felt one of their old grievances was their fault. Whatever the actual reason was, they were now at a point where they would turn to sabotage just to get back at them. What was previously an unreasonable thought snowballed into something they were putting into motion. They began trotting on a path that would end in destruction without them realizing it, be it the temple or their futures. I was out in the garden, wearing a robe, slowly walking around, watching the clear sky and the millions of stars twinkling above my head. It was a look that I could not get bored of. With the amount of light pollution, I never really saw the stars, but I also had to remind myself that this view was probably unique to this land. Whatever those things were, they were not really stars, but something else. But what? And what about the moon? Was it also something different? An illusion? Ah. Too many things that no longer made sense. I just had to let it go. I was afraid if I let my mind think too deeply about it, I would wake up and find myself back in my original body, bleeding out on the ground. Living in a pleasant dream is better than experiencing the painful reality. "Bad dreams?" a voice asked me, and when I turned it was Yuri who was approaching me, wearing nothing. "No, just thoughts." I smiled at her. "What about you?" "I woke up when you climbed out of bed. The other 2 are knocked out, but I was always a light sleeper. Had to be." "Yeah, I know." I nodded, making her raise an eyebrow, but maybe she felt I wasn't joking, so she did not question me about it. "I know what it was to try and get some sleep on a battlefield. You just can't come back from something like that." "So, what's troubling you?" "Nothing, really," I repeated, looking back towards the sky. "The time when you died." You are surprisingly good at reading people. I laughed a little because she was right. Yet not because she was talking about what happened on the wall last winter. I wasn't. You are alive, so relax. I can confirm, look, I am still leaking down below. I don't know where you pump out this much from. My pussy siblings are also dripping cum all over the sheets. Ah ha ha ha. Yum yum, midnight snack. Ha, maybe it's the local diet. Maybe, you know what? We could make Lunaki make new types of foods and see if your milk gets a different aftertaste. You just want to be naughty, I whispered, turning back at her. Aren't you cold? Nah, it's fine. I had it worse. You can go back if you want. I will stay, watch the stars a little, then return. As I said, it's good. I will stay. She answered, standing next to me, glancing up, trying to follow my gaze. What you looking at? Explain. Honestly, no idea. Maybe I should start naming the stars. That could be fun. By the way, are you guarding me right now? Duh. You are my owner now. I can't have you be killed or injured. My golden cock, that's what you are. Not goose? No, I am talking about your cock. Literally. So anyone coming to cut it off will have to get through me first. Who would try that? Here? Now? Why? Pfft. You never know. People are crazy. And you need a crazy to know crazy. Say crazy one more time. Crazy, woof. Ha, whatever. I hugged her waist, pulling her closer while we continued watching the stars. Maybe I can name some star formations after you. Blur, you sound like some sweet-talking noble silk pants. Don't make me puke. If you want to name something after me, make it a weapon. Something that would kill a bunch of fuckers in one move. Call it Yuri's Fury or something badass. Blood Guzzler or Dick Twister. Okay, if we ever build something, so be it. But we will stop with Yuri's Fury. Promise. Sure, I nodded, raising my pinky finger. She was just looking at me first, before finally understanding and reaching out with hers. You are blushing. Fuck you. Chapter 67, Helping Hands. The sun was finally out most of the time, not hiding behind clouds as we were way into spring by now. I was watching the changing scenery from my carriage. This time, only Sasha was accompanying me inside, while a small group of 20 warriors, led by Oleg, were riding alongside us. We were on my first diplomatic trip as the leader of the frontier, heading to my uncle's region. It sounds more serious than it is in reality. Both of us are newly appointed nobles within the empire, so we ought to officially celebrate the occasion. What could be weird is that he is a subordinate to me as he is a baron while I am a viscount. Usually, it would be me inviting him over, but we both know that would be kinda impossible right now. So instead, I accepted his invitation, which also showed we were in a fine relationship. What is it? I asked with a chuckle, glancing at Sasha sitting opposite of me. You look nervous. I am. I never wore fancy clothes and dancing. It will be fine. Don't laugh. Ha! She moaned, pouting at me, making me laugh even more. You are too caught up in little details, my dearest Sasha. It is good if you are confident you can lead me then because I can't dance. Neither do I. What? She screamed even louder than before, turning white as the snow. Duh, I can't. In my past life, I had 2 wooden pegs as legs when it came to dancing. Old-fashioned balls. Pfft, dream on. Our dance was wiggling around like having a seizure to some wild tunes that you would find weird. I am sure of the music I am used to would be some kind of demonic wretch here. I bet Yuri would like it. Ha, for sure. Ugh, Leon, this is bad. We will be a laughingstock for years. Less panic, dear. I leaned over, pulling her into my lap, gently stroking her head while hugging her body. Nobody would dare laugh at us, and we will improvise. I wouldn't worry. I am greatly interested in this party Uncle invited us to. It was a formal letter, arriving a week earlier. It detailed that I was invited to a banquet hosted to celebrate his position as a baron, and in turn, my title as the new leader of the frontier. At first, I wanted to refuse, but that would be a dick move, especially after he helped me this much. I wanted to ask Mom to come with me, but she refused, telling me I was the leading figure now to go and do it myself. She was right, so here I am, heading out. We will mingle with the nobles a little, I explained after she finally settled down. Have some small talk and whatnot before we excuse ourselves. It won't be that difficult. The letter did say to bring some fancy clothes because there will be a dance, but that does not mean we must waltz before everyone else. Bah, I hope not. I am already nervous that they will see me as a nobody anyway. Isn't that better? Hmm? Being a nobody, I repeated, gently caressing her face. If you are a nobody, they won't care about you. We can then have fun in our territory without worries. So please don't get angry if something happens, and don't burn down my uncle's castle. So you expect something to go wrong? Eh? No, I did not mean that. I couldn't help but shrug, thinking that I spoke as if I was intentionally jinxing us. Okay, let's start it over. Think of it like a bit of vacation. We are getting out of reviewing, planning, and building, and coming to have some fun instead. I will also use it to connect with the nobles present and memorize their faces, names, etc. I will need to be in touch with those surrounding us. What about the luggage? Are you planning to sell it? She asked, meaning the little samples we are bringing along. I do plan to show it off. I grinned, poking her nose, kissing her face. But only to my uncle. I will let him choose and be an intermediary. Some of them will be attributed to him as his inventions. I don't need them to be traced back to me. He can order from us in bulk and resell it to what he sees fit. Think of it as me surveying the market. Surveying, she murmured, repeating the words. Yep, Mum is still in the middle of training those who will make up the bulk of my merchant guild. When they are ready and will be sent out, I will already know what our inventions are worth in the nobles' eyes. I will ensure they don't sell it for less than what my uncle gets for them. It will be the bottom price for our goods. Isn't it going to be what we will sell them for? You will make them name a higher price. I will. These parts of the empire are the poorest regions, so when they visit a more wealthy territory, I want them to be more brave. Name a higher price and only come down if no sales are being made. But no lower than what my uncle and his minor nobles can afford. If they can't sell it, so be it. We will think of something else. I believe in you. This thing is hard and I don't like it. So don't ask for advice from me. Oh, something that my Sasha is not good at? What manner of witchcraft is this? I am not Merlin, she pouted, trashing a little in my lap. I can't be good at everything, unlike him. True. The kid is weird. He has been studying Marker's notes and has been going on about how fun plants are. I am finding it hard to try and play along. At least I know that you are also just a human. We can't be good at everything. Cheeky, I giggled, kissing her, letting it make me forget how much I hate riding carriages and feeling it throw us around inside like some human pinball machine. When I arrived at my uncle's city, its atmosphere was a bit different. For instance, I saw more guards patrolling the walls and the streets than when we first came here. I will have to ask Elliot what that was about. By the time our carriage stopped and Oleg opened the door, helping both of us down, it was already dark. Good to see you again, Leon. Uncle Elliot, I smiled, greeting him nonchalantly as he approached us, forgoing all formalities. I didn't mind if word got out that I acted like someone who was equal, or maybe even below him a little. Let them spread rumors and let them speculate as much as they want. Did something happen, or did you double the guards for my arrival? I asked jokingly, and he only sighed, shaking my hands. I would be lying if I said that was the main reason. I will tell you soon. Lady Sasha, it is an honor to meet you. He bowed elegantly, kissing her hand, making my wife blush and trying to return it with a curtsy. It is my honor, Baron Elliot. Just Elliot will do. Being the wife of my nephew, who is above me in rank, already makes you my superior. Not to mention the fact, no matter, he added with a chuckle as he led us into the castle. While walking, we talked simply about how the winter was for both of our territories and what a lovely night we were having. It was nothing serious, at least until we finally arrived at the already prepared dinner table in a separate room. So, I asked, sitting down beside Sasha and letting the maids put the food on the table. I could see roasted beef, pork, and maybe deer on the table, with mostly mashed potatoes as the side dish. It immediately made my stomach rumble, in sync with Sasha's. Ah ha ha, eat, eat, Elliot laughed, finding my wife's blushing face cute, not wanting to hold us back. As to answer your earlier question, there is a bit of unrest, but nothing major. Is it some remaining factions following your elder brother? Sasha asked while picking meat onto her plate, subconsciously licking her lips. Yes, they do not pose a threat, but they have been sabotaging me here and there. The most serious act was that a grain caravan was attacked and burnt down. Grain? I asked, my hand stopping as I silently chewed on the meat. That is not good. Your place is where most of our food comes for the winter for now. For now? Elliot smiled, which made me shrug. We do try to diversify our sources, but we just started. Building up a stable source of food takes a few years. We can't just slaughter all the animals in the first year. True. That is why any attack against your food is a direct attack on our food. Tell me more. There is not much, really. He sighed, thinking a little. You took away the leading bandit group, which created a power vacuum. They began fighting over who would become the top dog, and that aroused the interest of those minor nobles who were in the piggy's pocket. What about your cleansing? I asked, reaching for my cup of wine. The leading heads rolled nicely, and I made trusty friends to sit in their places. The people who are causing trouble are mostly not even nobles, but wealthy families, previously getting fattened up by looking over the trading deals. The idiotic brother of mine delegated everything down to his trustees in the end. He was giving away his power more and more. The only thing he was good at originally was slipping through his fingers. We acted in time or a few years, and my family would have been replaced without us realizing it. Stupid fuck. Was it that bad? We asked simultaneously, making my uncle fall silent for a moment, trying to rein in his rage. It was bad, but not that bad, that I couldn't handle it. But some people did get richer than they should have been. Now they escaped being beheaded and replaced, and after everything settled, they began making moves in the background. First, they hid, and now they are poking out their ugly heads from their hiding holes. They are copying you, even if they don't know. He added with a chuckle, making me raise an eyebrow. Oh, what do you mean? They are using bandits? Yes, I don't know their end goal. Elliot shrugged, sounding frustrated, and I am not keen on learning it either. Maybe they think they won't be traced like that, but I know about them because of it. They squealed. I smiled, leaning back in my chair, and my uncle nodded, wiping his mouth. I captured some of them, and after enough torture, they told me all I needed. I identified the 3 families involved in this kerfuffle and plan on getting them rounded up. I just need a good reason to do so. Something rock solid. Why do I feel like your invitation now seems suspicious, Uncle Elliot? I knew you would bring me some things that you would want to sell. Ah, am I that easy to read, dear? I asked with a playful groan, turning towards Sasha, who considered it for a moment and then nodded. Ugh. Defeat. Complete defeat. Oh well, tell me, Uncle. I am all ears and happy to help. You already set it up as it is partially my fault. Oh, I wouldn't dare say that. He grinned, winking at me. As I said, I already know who they are. The problem is, if I make a move against one of them, the others can destroy the evidence before I get to them. That would only leave me with one of the families destroyed. Is it not feasible to attack them at the same time? No. He answered, turning serious, and with a wave of a hand, his leading maid walked forward, placing a small box before me. What is this? I asked, opening it up and seeing a little rectangular device within it, which clearly had CC embedded in the middle of it. What's this? I asked again, looking up at him and giving it to Sasha, who was eager to examine it. It is something that is called a warning signal. I had to look it up myself because one of the bandit lieutenants had it with him. They come in pairs. Crush one, and its pair also breaks. There are 2 sharpened little CC needles within Leon. I can see them. It needs to be pressed from both ends, and it will crack the one in the middle. How interesting. Sasha was already dismantling it like a professional, making notes in her mind about how it worked. I don't know how they got it, but if they have something like this, that means the families are most likely in contact with each other. I make a move. The others will be able to destroy the evidence by the time I go in. What do you need me for, Uncle? I asked, leaning forward, resting my chin on my hands and smiling. This sounded fun. More fun than I expected. Your goods. I will announce that on the day of the banquet, you will hold a little auction. We will invite them too. While the heads of the families gather in my humble castle, my men, along with yours, can go in and occupy their courtyards. Even if they send out the signal, with the leaders here, we can detain them. Ho ho ho. Well, Elliot, count me in, see? I turned towards Sasha, who was blinking her eyes rapidly, being disrupted from studying the magical tool. Now you don't need to worry about dancing anymore. Chapter 68, Preliminary Inspection. I don't like it here. It was a sentence that surprised me when I heard it. It happened after we had cleaned ourselves and were getting ready to go to bed. Our room was as luxurious as a local noble could wish for. The castle walls were covered with pelts, the same as the stone floor, making it easier to walk around barefooted. The bed was broad, with soft pillows and a thick, king-size down comforter that I had just lifted up. It's not that bad, I answered, but I did miss our home too. The bathroom, to be specific. Although the toilet was made out of stone just the same, it was a typical let gravity take it away kind of toilet and not one that could be flushed. Am I becoming needy, selfish? She whispered, climbing into the bed, hugging me. A few years ago, I was living in the forest, having nothing. Now I say I don't like staying at a noble's castle. You spoiled me. Oh, so it is my fault, I giggled, playing with her red hair. Yes. We can go and live in the woods if you want. Screw it. We elope and we tour the world, just you and me. What? No, what would happen to the others? Not just Luna, but the people who are now dependent on us. I wouldn't leave them behind. See, you are not selfish. With a kiss on her blushing face, I enjoyed her naked body snuggling up to mine, being happy, hearing my answer. It was no wonder that I had no trouble sleeping without worries until dawn. At the breakfast table the following day, we didn't discuss anything about the nobles. Instead, my uncle was more interested in how my city was coming along. I will want to visit it one day. Sure, but only bring your most trusted people. I nodded, not against the idea. Naturally, I also want to borrow and implement some of your constructs here. I am getting more and more curious the more you mention. That can be arranged. I hummed, thinking a little. If my magic formations work out as expected, you can contact my people to build structures within your territory. We will take care of maintaining them. For a fee, of course. No love between family, huh? Business is business, uncle, I answered quickly, making him laugh, nodding, knowing I would give him a reasonable price anyway. Wait until we finish setting up the heating system. I think you would want that for the winter. Sounds interesting. I would love to hear about it more. You will see it when it's ready. I am just afraid you will want to leave and join me in my city afterward. It is that good, huh? Elliot whistled, but he did not pry any further. Was it a real possibility? I don't know. But that would be problematic because then who remains here, leading this region? Even though his land is not considered part of the frontier, it is its anteroom. Entering my territory is done through his. I did not continue down on that train of thought afterward. Instead, finishing the breakfast, we went to his private courtyard, where Oleg already prepared multiple tables. My merchandise was laid out in the morning sun, guarded by my new guards. They were wearing simple leather armor, not yet adorned in any way, and I was still thinking about what type of uniform I should make them wear. Books? Elliot asked, noticing the first stacks as we walked closer. Are these printed? See it for yourself. I let him pick them up, one by one, flipping through the pages, stopping occasionally, chuckling before putting them down. Who wrote these? Some are really funny. They can be a good read when someone is bored. There are multiple authors. Some are from me, and some are from my Prime Minister Merlin. Some are Sasha's creations. They are amusing. He smiled and continued looking over them, picking up one with a simple pink-colored cover and examining it curiously. Kama Sutra. Who is that? It isn't a person, and it isn't the recount of the ancient texts it is based on. I never read that. This is the bastardized version by yours truly. Ancient texts? What are you on about? He looked at me, puzzled, before flipping it through, exclaiming loudly, Drawings? You can print drawings. Ooh, this looks nice. Sasha has a way with metalworks. Her fingers are like the hands of a fine sculptor. I answered simply because it was she who made them at my behest. I couldn't help but grin, watching her face go red the same way when I came up with the idea. At least she did not stomp on my feet this time around. Damn! What an interesting little book. Can I have this? I told you sex would sell, I murmured to my wife. Ugh! Shh, Sasha whispered, pinching my buttocks. I don't want to hear about it. Even though you are a practitioner too. Owie. Hmm? Elliot flinched, turning around, hearing my yelp and watching me rub my bottom. What happened? Nothing, Sasha answered him, stepping forward, closing the book in Elliot's hand, making him put it down and move on to the other items we brought. We know that the books won't be the most interesting part, so let's look at the others. I think people would love this one the most, but sure. What's this? He asked, reading the atmosphere, knowingly ignoring Sasha's bright red face, letting her introduce our first perfume. Perfume. We named it Heaven's Valley. We refined it multiple times, so right now you only need to dip a little from it onto your neck, and you will smell nice throughout the whole day. Oh, these smell sweet, he whispered, trying out bottle after bottle. Sasha quickly stopped him from splashing out all of it at once, helping him sample them all. I want this, all of it. How much did you bring? This will sell amongst the nobles like hotcake. Only a box, I answered, twitching my eyes. This is hard to make, so this is all we have. Bullshit. I will buy all that you have. Your scented soaps sold like no tomorrow. This is a gold mine. It is true, Baron Elliot, Sasha reassured him. This is all we have. It is a new process, and the alchemist doing it is still trying to nail the correct formula down. I am willing to sell it to you, uncle, I interjected quickly. That is why we brought it. But I need clear glass. That is one thing we are struggling with. Can you get it for me? If yes, I can speed up the procedure because I can establish a correct laboratory for her. Alchemist, huh? He repeated, crossing his arms, thinking. Clear glass. That is not cheap, and getting it is hard. You know someone? Sasha asked, turning excited because clear glass was becoming more of an issue day by day. We can make our own glass, yes. But it is permanently tinted, and especially in alchemy, that is a big no-no. Yes and no. The man I thought about does not live here. Elliot explained, watching the bottles we brought over. If you want to source it locally, Marquis Oscar is your man. He is a noble down at the southern borders. He lords over an area between the Geth Empire and ours, which has been turned into sand when the Empress of Death reigned supreme. Oh, I read about her. I nodded, recalling that specific title. Supposedly, she battled every neighboring nation we had at that time. I wasn't surprised to hear she challenged the only other empire in our vicinity that held an artifact in their hands. It is a dead zone, Elliot continued after seeing I knew who he was referring to. The Marquise is from the family that is guarding the border and also oversees the desert, so it doesn't expand. Expanding? Sasha chimed in, curious and enjoying the old legends, showing her childlike side to my uncle. Yes. 2 artifacts of the gods clashed there. The after effects are still present. Most things brought into that desert will turn into sand. Luckily, it doesn't expand, but it is good to keep an eye on it. Anyway, the main point is that Marquis Oscar is our man if you need clear glass. The problem is the distance. It is the other end of the empire. How long would it take to make a trip and come back? Months, no question about that. He answered immediately. If I send someone out in spring, they may return by winter. It is not just getting there, which is a problem. It is going through a dozen other territories. Each has its own taxes, issues, and whatever else. Ha. But you sounded confident, I countered, waiting for the part he did not tell us about yet. The first option, as I said, is when you want to source it locally. The second option is the Atuvian League. Those are our eastern neighbors, yes? Sasha questioned, waiting for our nods. I didn't hear about them much. Leon? Me neither. I only know that we fought them a few times. Right now, we are not at war with them, because we are at war with their southern neighbors, who they also hate. Are we ever at peace? I laughed, not wanting any honest answer to my stupid question. They are a merchant kingdom. Elliot continued with a smile. They are a league of money-hungry opportunists. Their land was always pretty infertile, so they relied on trade a lot, and throughout the centuries they became savvy at it. I visited them once, learning a few tricks when I was a teenager, and I can catch up on some old contacts. I think I could get you glass, but it wouldn't be cheap, and I would need more perfume. Dealing with them is not always done through gold, but through profit margins. I see. I have Mom training traders right now. If they are ready, with your help, I can send one of them over. Will they be allowed to cross the border? We are not at war. He smiled confidently and had a bit of mischief in his eyes. We can manage. Good, I clapped, dropping the topic as it still needed work, but not now. We can theorize a lot, but until it comes to testing the ideas, it is futile to go into too much detail. I continued introducing them to the rest of the things we brought over. It included more scented soap, now enhanced by Marca's perfume, its aroma lasting even longer. I also brought over a few buckets of gold paint, the same thing I used to decorate my palace with. He laughed non-stop when he heard it was produced from the killed beast's body. Okay, nephew. I will not introduce it as such to the nobles, or it will be unsellable. I will think of something else. Heh. Some greedy bastard will love to dip their stuff into it and parade it around as if it were made from gold. The glue you also brought over. I don't know. Maybe the merchants would find some use for it. I am not optimistic though, so don't get your hopes up. I am just here to see how people react. They will love the perverted book and the perfume. The latter will be an instant seller. Hell, I want to monopolize it at once. Do you know how much it would be worth when many people can smell like shit? Nothing can beat it. No, we answered, watching him with a confident smile. But uncle, you will tell us. No? No, I will show it to you. Just wait. I will make the announcement and send out the invites laced with perfume. They will be blown away. I can't wait to wear it. Uncle. I raised a hand, wanting to stop him from splashing himself once again with the samples. Those are for women. And they smell good. Why couldn't we wear them if they smell good for us men? You are being stupid here, Leon. I couldn't help but turn towards my wife, asking with my eyes if her ears picked up the exact same words as mine. Watching her laugh, I was sure she did. Now I was sure Elliot was my mum's little brother. I could see her say the same thing. Chapter 69, Merchant Trap 1. It didn't take long for Elliot to send out the invitations and news, and for the night of the ball to arrive. I was up in our room with Sasha and a few maids who were helping us dress before we headed to the ballroom and joined the rest of the nobles. How many are here? I asked while I let a maid fix the vest on me, looking at Sasha, who was admiring her new hairstyle in a mirror. Her long, fiery locks were now braided as a natural crown around her head, directing the rest to flow down to her back, which was left open in an elegant white and gold dress. She was simply beautiful. We are still missing 6 guests, but the majority of them are here, my lord. One of the maids assigned to us answered, all 11 minor noble families are present. So we are only waiting for the merchant families, I mumbled, making Sasha look back at me, a bit worried. Do you think they know something? No. I think they didn't want to arrive before any of the official nobles. That would make them too brazen and open them up to criticism from them. You know how prideful they can be. I don't know. I didn't think about that, she murmured, blushing, which just made her more beautiful. When we were finished, I proudly held her hand, walking down to the castle's main floor and hearing the maids announce our titles and arrival. I knew she was way more nervous than ever before, but I kept firmly holding her as we descended the steps, letting everyone take a good look at us. While she was dressed in white, I mainly wore black and gold clothes, looking like some kind of military officer, which was fitting as I was the one leading the frontier. First, it was Elliot who greeted us, and I returned the gesture warmly, keeping up with the etiquette, even raising his position a bit as I acted very cordially and close to him. This should send a message to everyone under him that the current Baron was tightly tied to the frontier, more so than his now dead elder brother. Next came the introduction of the minor nobles. They either had the title of baronet or the lord of something, and a few held the rank of knight, the lowest among the minor nobles. Seeing that my uncle's region was more fragmented than mine was interesting. I couldn't imagine how one of the bigger ones looked at a much more civilized part of the empire, where we began from the rank of Marquis or Earl. What a headache. It's like kingdoms within kingdoms that are within another kingdom. I was happy that my land was so open and most of my population lived in my new city. It was enough to manage the few towns we established and their leaders and not to deal with a horde of nobles. To battle Sasha's nervousness, I made sure she had to introduce herself to everyone who approached us, not letting her simply hide behind me and say nothing. She has to get used to this, especially for the future of our home. Whether or not anyone cared about her being an orphan or a commoner, it didn't matter. Watching their eyes scan her body made me sure they only cared about her being beautiful. I felt good. Really good. I always dreamed of being the target of envy like this. Sometimes it's good to be a bit eccentric. Then I heard a trumpet signaling new arrivals, and here they came. The merchants. I watched with interest as multiple people walked in, 5 men and 1 woman. To my surprise, none were overweight, yet I expected it as a show of wealth. Surprises. Looking at their faces, they were somewhere between 20-ish and death, as 2 of the men walked with canes while entering the castle. The brunette woman amongst their ranks wasn't young either, but she was shaking her wide hips with every step as if looking for her very first partner. Ouch! I flinched, feeling Sasha pinch my wrist as she held onto my arm, noticing that I was watching the jiggling jugs at the other end of the room. Sorry, first true MILF I am seeing here. What is that? She murmured, and I leaned in, whispering the answer into her ear. The way she blushed and wanted to laugh and curse at me at the same time made me chuckle, kissing her face right in front of everybody. If you finished, Elliot interrupted us, let me introduce you to them. All of them are? I asked while following him. Supposedly, we will see. Talk with them. I will excuse myself shortly and begin the operation. Are you leaving everything to me? I asked with a chuckle, and he simply nodded. The sly bastard. You are my Viscount, Lord Leon. I would not dare to steal the spotlight. Tsk, so be it. Friends, he cried out, laughing and opening his arms, looking like he was meeting with his old classmates after being years apart. I am glad you could all come. We would not have missed it, and it was our honor to be invited, Baron Elliot. The oldest-looking man answered, his voice raspy and sounding like grinding sandpapers together. He was barely 160 centimeters tall, leaning forward on his stick, showing his bald, wrinkly head toward me. Was he in the process of being mummified or what? I couldn't tell when his eyes were open or closed. Let me introduce you all to my nephew, Viscount Leon, the new appointed leader of the frontier, and his wife, Lady Sasha. Gentlemen, Madam, I nodded with a smile, not going overboard as it was them who had to bow to Sasha and me. Greetings, my wife added, still sounding nervous, and didn't bow her head because I gently squeezed her hand, reminding her that she was now in the position of the one receiving them. The honor is ours, the old man answered for all of them once again. So he is their spokesperson. I see. Darting my eyes over the others, I could see them to be a bit nervous, but also confident. I don't think they thought my uncle already knew everything. Looking into their eyes, I could read some excitement in them, especially in the lone woman, thinking they were already rising to the rank of an official noble. Being invited to this party was already a good sign. Elliot continued speaking as he told me their names, one by one, but I didn't bother listening. After everything, they would most likely be beheaded. I was about to say something when my eyes caught an intriguing clue. One of the men in the group, looking to be in his 30s, wearing a red tie with his black formal dress, signaled me. I knew I wasn't wrong because I moved my head ever so slightly, asking with my eyes if I saw it correctly. And he answered, not with words but with a gentle nod and a pleading expression deep in his blue eyes. The way he ran his fingers through his jet-black hair was another sign of his nerves, and he was asking for help. I saw the same look once. It was plastered all over one of my commanding officers' faces when we received an order that would put us in the line of fire. We were made to be a sacrificial bait in an operation. Not all of us returned. Interesting. I whispered ever so slightly, and Sasha was the only one who heard me, making her eyes snap to the same man I was watching. I couldn't be happier to know how well synced we are. It makes my heart proud. He continued trying to signal that he wanted to speak with me, preferably alone, but I thoroughly refused. I think he then realized why, because he turned white as a ghost. Now, his name I did memorize. Dorian. I will leave you with Viscount Leon for a moment. I need to prepare the main event. Heh, sure you do, Uncle. With a smile, we saw him off, and before they could get suspicious, I took over to be the leading figurehead. I wanted to meet with you, to be honest. I knew it surprised them as they exchanged glances, becoming more excited. Except for the guy who successfully read my thoughts, he was barely able to hide his shaking hands. I am in great need of some experts because I am thinking of reconstructing the frontier a little. We are way too backwater for my taste. They only dared to laugh after I did, as I tried to lower their nervousness. We would be glad to help. Once again, it was the old man who answered. Was this predetermined? I don't know, but seeing some of their faces twitch, I think he simply prided himself as their leader. I guess it was his idea from the get-go. Too bad, old man. You just pushed your friends to certain death. My uncle did introduce you to me, but I still don't know your specialties. Can you enlighten me? I heard that every wealthy merchant knows what field they are the best at. Of course, I was not interested in it all. I just did as Uncle asked, pushing for time. I only paid any attention besides nodding and humming when Dorian introduced his specialties. I guess the rest noticed his nervousness as I finally saw the old man open one of his eyes wide enough that I could see his graying, partially cloudy eye. I am but a tailor. My only claim to my little fame is that I copied some inventions from the capital and established a manufacturing guild, making quality clothes en masse. I mainly deal in fabrics because of it. I am a nobody, Your Highness. Pleading, in front of everybody. Geez, you are totally broken. Ah ha ha ha, please, don't be so nervous. We are not here to rob you. I grinned, laughing loudly. I saw the old man wanted to interrupt, maybe sensing something, but I didn't let him. Screw you, now you are all along for the ride and I won't stop the train. We are here to sell you some new and unique items. My uncle had made some interesting things and asked me to endorse them for him. Come, let me show you. Of course, I spoke in a way that everyone heard me. They watched as I led them over to a desk that was guarded by Oleg and my soldiers, covered with a big white sheet. With a nod, I signaled to Sasha and began removing the sheet, revealing the items for everyone to see. If you want to sell something, you need a beautiful girl to present it. It is scientifically proven that the presence of a cute girl lowers the chance that anyone manages to pay attention to the little details and begins flashing money instead. Who conducted that experiment? Details, details. It doesn't matter. What mattered was that it was working. This time, it was Sasha who took the floor, introducing them one by one while I was her helper, showcasing the goods like a good little assistant. While they were eyeing her and our merchandise, I had time to scour their expressions, and Elliot was right. The perfume was the most exciting part for them, except for Dorian. His scared eyes only relaxed for a moment when he heard about the glue. Once again. Interesting. Maybe I should interrogate him later on. Perhaps not all of them are to be sent to their death. We will see. Our eyes met then, and his face, just like before, returned to its pale color, trying to plead for help one last time, but I just shook my head. I ignored him for the rest of the presentation, focusing on Sasha, who finally managed to shed her nervousness and speak freely, doing her best to sell the items. I couldn't help but chuckle because all of them were introduced as Elliot's inventions. Take that, Uncle. You will be nagged by people interested in buying them, not me. Dumping me here to be your smokescreen. Serves you right. Oh. I smiled, and with my soft exhale, Sasha's eyes also looked at the six while she kept explaining the qualities of the perfume. The present noble women were already nagging their husbands to buy one before they all went in the wind, not paying attention to what was happening. My reaction came for a simple reason. I saw the oldest bastard flinch and reach into his inner pocket. It was followed by the others doing the same, as one by one, all of their faces turned really ugly, real fast. Dorian was the only one who didn't reach for his pocket. Instead, he simply closed his tearful eyes, beginning to raise his hand. going to his knees. Smart. Did something happen? I raised my voice, interrupting everybody, and while I looked at the old man, Oleg and the rest of my soldiers encircled them, quickly telling everybody something big was happening. Nothing, Your Highness. Their leader answered me, and finally they noticed Dorian on the floor. What are you doing? He barked at him, but it was already too late. His action was enough of a confession to the other nobles present to catch on. Something had to go wrong somewhere. Even Sasha couldn't hold back her chuckles, seeing how quickly they cleared away from the group, not wanting to get involved with it. He is the only one who realized it from the start. I answered them calmly, picking up a glass of wine and sipping on it. Burning my uncle's food caravan. It is an attack on me, you know. Proof. Without... Baron Elliot is already gathering it. That is why your little alarm system went off. That is enough proof for me. Oleg, go and escort them to their guest rooms in the dungeons. If they resist... I took another sip, smacking my lips. Kill them on the spot. Chapter 70. Merchant Trap 2. I was watching them calmly, somewhat enjoying the fact their panic was showing through their expressions. You can't do this. You may be a Viscount, but this is Baron Elliot's territory. We won't stand for this insult and overreach of your tyrannical methods. The old man argued vehemently, holding onto his walking stick with two wrinkly hands. You speak as if you are a noble, I added, keeping on my smile and twirling the wine in my glass. Damn, it was good to be an asshole sometime. My simple comment really shut him up, making some onlookers chuckle. If something is taken seriously everywhere in the Empire, it's the hierarchy. Can you show me what is in your pockets? Of course not. I continued, watching them look at each other and seeing their clothes getting wet from the amount of sweat trickling down on their skin. The thing you have with you is something you shouldn't be able to possess. It is enough to sentence you to prison and conduct an investigation to determine what is going on. Did you forget why my other uncle was removed with all his goonies? Goo. Knees? They stuttered, not getting the word, but I ignored them. They were dealing with and smuggling royal properties. It seems we didn't get all of them, huh? I've had enough. Oleg, take them away. Yes, my lord. There was no mercy. No matter if they wailed, cursed, or pleaded, they were all dragged away. One of them even tried to run, but a perfect punch into his stomach made him kneel over and faint. The only one who didn't resist was Dorian, and in turn, my men didn't rough him up. After the screams of the only woman amongst them faded, I turned to the rest of the nobles. I am sorry that you had to witness that. While my uncle is away cleaning up their courtyards with the army, I will continue hosting this evening. I could tell many of them were nervous under their forced smiles. Please enjoy the night, and if you have any questions about the products we showcased earlier, feel free to ask my wife or me. We are happy to answer any and all questions. It took some time for them to return to a somewhat relaxed state, and I knew this would have long-lasting effects. It was the perfect showcase that I fully supported Elliot and worked with him to eliminate any and all opposing forces without hesitation. I know they were not nobles, but for me, sweeping them away would be just as justifiable, and I was willing to do so if Elliot asked me. We can't rule with only fear, but we can rein them in with it. That is enough. I was speaking with a group of local lords, making some connections, and getting to know them when music began filling the room. I recognized the sounds of the piano and the violin, so at least I knew those did exist here. Maybe I could plagiarize some old classics. Ugh, I never read that many music sheets to choose from, and I don't know if they have the same system here. Probably not. Their alphabet is already different, more like rune writing than what I was used to. Well, whatever. It is not that important. From the corner of my eyes, I watched as Sasha was doing the same thing as me, mingling with some other nobles, explaining the perfumes, and finally getting loose enough not to think about being shy. When her nervousness disappears, she can be quite the commanding girl, with an unmistakable air of nobility coming off of her presence. It was in how she carried herself when she was acting on her instincts. What was Mickey 2 on about when we sealed her? My lord, Oleg approached me. Baron Elliot has returned and wishes to speak with you. Oh, that was fast. Excuse me, gentlemen, and the beautiful women of tonight's party. I smiled, nodding my head at the people around me. I will leave for a minute. My wife, Sasha, will be able to answer all the questions you may still harbor within your minds. I didn't need to look to know and feel Sasha's glare piercing my back as I left her there. I will try to tell her later that it was just training, but I did expect some new bite marks on me afterward. Exiting the room, I was escorted by Oleg to the back gardens, where Elliot was washing off blood from his arms and face, with his metal breastplate having a dent on it. "What happened?" I asked, looking a bit more worried, but he looked fine. A bit out of breath, but otherwise injury-free. "Traps," he answered, holding his sides, wincing. "I took a log to the chest, and it came down hard. It will leave a nasty bruising, but otherwise I'm fine. Some of their hired muscle didn't want to surrender, so we killed a few, but we should be okay." "Let me see," I murmured, examining his chest, making him take a sharp breath here and there as I pressed on it. "Doesn't feel broken, so you should be fine. But yeah, your chest will turn black and blue in an hour, I guess. Good luck with sleeping." I know." He chuckled and then moaned, shaking his head. "I will have my maids take care of me. Foo. But let's talk about what is important. My men are still guarding the courtyards right now, and I spoke with my captains. They succeeded in capturing most of their family members and are gathering evidence as we speak. Some may have escaped, but they will be hunted down later." "Good, we took the guests down to the dungeon. They are enjoying the after-party." "I made sure they were all put in separated cells." Oleg chimed in confidently. "We spaced them out as much as possible to prevent them from talking to each other. I have a guard before each of their cells, and if they try to speak, they will hit them with a whip." "We will interrogate them separately." Elliot hummed, and I simply nodded, thinking of the same idea. "Let's try to make them think they can get out of it if they incriminate the others." "We are indeed related." I grinned at him before thinking of something. "I want to start with Dorian." "Why?" "He was trying to talk to me the moment he arrived with them. Now is the best time." "I wouldn't trust them." "Oh, don't worry, I don't, but I am curious, so let me see." He looked smart enough not to resist and give up at once. People can make bad decisions in their lives. Learning from it is a good thing. "You want to recruit him?" Elliot asked, scrutinizing my face while tilting his head. "Maybe. Depends. First, let me talk with him." The interrogation was taking place in one of the torture chambers. Was I surprised my uncle had one? No. Was I surprised he had more than one? Yes. Well, he did say the castle was built. What? 800 years ago? So, I wasn't harping on it. I just thought that I may have missed the opportunity to build one for mine. I bet Luna would have loved it. My thoughts were chased away when Oleg appeared, bringing in the ghostly white Dorian and forcefully making him sit at the other end of the table I was sitting at. Dorian Arbuckle. I repeated his name, gently tapping on the discolored old table before me, while my general stood behind him, hand on his sword, ready to kill. I got a quick flashback of when I was dealing with Yuri. Will I always end up like this when I come to visit my uncle? "Yes, my lord," he answered, barely audible. I saw his parched lips tremble, and his whole body was shaking like a leaf in a typhoon. With a nod to Oleg, he brought over the simple jug in the corner, pouring out water for him. "Drink, don't worry, it is not poisoned," I added, seeing his hand begin to tremble even more after that. "Promise." I waited for him to swallow it, which was clearly a struggle as he had to feel like his throat was being squeezed by invisible hands. "My lord," he repeated after putting the mug down, now much more audible than before. First, I raised my hand at him to stop. "Let me tell you what is happening. Right now, all of you are on the chopping block. You six, specifically, are all dead men walking. Depending on your answers to my questions will determine what will happen to your family. In the worst-case scenario, they will be branded as traitors and given a quick death. Then, there is the option that they will survive but be pressed into servitude and lose their status as free people. If you are honest and cooperative, then your family will be left alone, although most of your wealth will be confiscated, and they will only be left with enough to try and start a new life. As to how that turns out, it would be all up to them." "Is that true, my lord? Can they survive?" he asked as I watched as the fire of hope ignited within his eyes. I saw it clearly. He wasn't afraid of death. He was scared for his family's future. Depending on you, surviving will be hard. I mean, even if they are allowed to live and remain free, the shame of what you did will be on them, like an invisible slave brand. I know. I know. He lowered his head into his hands, beginning to cry. I don't know how I got swept up in this. It just happened. I get that. Sometimes small things can spiral out of control and end up worse than you thought. One wrong step, and you tumble down from the mountaintop right into hell. That old bastard, he groaned between two sobs. Oh, your spokesperson, I whispered, recalling his name for the first time. Iskra Oberta? Yes, he was the one who initially introduced us to each other. He had been working with the previous Baron for a decade or so, and he had begun getting bigger and bigger slices of his deals. We all got crumbs at first, which made us able to afford to grow our businesses. But work only came if we were on good terms with him, so it made it so that we did things he asked. No questions. Through him, I managed to afford to buy the schematics for machines in the capital region and build one for myself. I was too deep into it when I noticed we were put on his leash. No, we put that leash on us willingly. You did. And you were smiling. I nodded, making him crack one through rolling tears, moaning with genuine regret. We did. I managed to establish a manufacturing shop capable of creating clothes for nobles and regular people, especially for the latter. I could buy cheap wool, or any textile for that matter, and make my workers churn out clothes quickly. The profit came from the locals, my lord. They were affordable, and they paid for them willingly, while nobles usually scoffed at my work. Even if I used the most expensive material I could get my hands on, it was still made by someone who was a commoner. They either tried bargaining or refused to buy my products. It was infuriating. I finished for him, and watching him nod, I could understand his feelings. I wanted to be a noble so bad. I knew that my work was good enough for them. I just lacked the rank. So when old Obertar said we could become one, I didn't think about it. I just said yes to it. And when I realized what we were doing, it was too late to back out. I was already part of it, and if I tried, I would be dead. Well, I am dead. Things then began escalating. One day, we were no longer simply trying to outplay our competitors and make their businesses close down, but we began raiding their caravans through bandits. I didn't know he would go that far. Not knowing is not an excuse, no matter the circumstances. I know, my lord. I don't and won't ask for forgiveness, not for myself, but for my family. They are innocent. All the decisions were on me. My wife's sons, they are innocent. How old are your sons? I asked, crossing my arms and listening to his answers without flinching. One is only 4, the older one is 13. Oleg, escort Mr. Dorian back to his cell. I nodded, seeing him open his mouth to say something, maybe plead once again, but then he stopped. He knew it was useless and just feebly stood up, needing Oleg to hold him under the armpits and carry him back, not letting him collapse in the corridor. This is going to be a long night, I whispered, leaning back with a satisfied smile. I wasn't wrong, as when Oleg returned, he brought a different one whom I made to sit, drink a little water, and began the questioning once again as Elliot and I interrogated all of them, leaving the oldest bastard for last. Chapter 71, Black Ops 1. After interrogating all the people, I came to the conclusion that besides Dorian, the rest didn't grasp the severity of the situation they were in, or still had trust in the old bastard. I don't know why. Was it the delusion of power that they built up under my dead uncle? I just couldn't wrap my head around it, especially when the woman offered herself and when I refused her 2 daughters in exchange for a lesser punishment. Well, it will be up to my uncle to decide, but I can see that at least half of the group will be separated from their heads. The other half? Imprisonment or work camps. One of the two. Before that happened, I decided to chat with the head of this mess, Iskra Obertar. I wanted to hear it from the old bastard too. When Oleg led him in, he looked pretty calm, but his eyes were opened wide enough for me to look into them. I know the others already pleaded against me. Cowards. Mostly, yes. I nodded, not bothering with lying or reminding him to use honorifics. It was useless anyway. He was either not bothering with it because of his current circumstances or because he was that arrogant. But I want to hear the story from the head of your little league. To bring them down with me, he smiled, his dry voice laced with sarcasm. Yes, I answered while leaning forward. You can also not tell me the truth and get the strictest punishment possible, all alone. Then you will sit and watch as your relatives are beheaded one by one until it is your turn, dying with the knowledge your line has ended that day. So, care to tell me the correct timeline of things? I didn't hurry him, let him collect his thoughts and think through his position. He was dead. The question was, would his aura of decay spread through his family or not? Being the last to be questioned, he already knew that the others most likely told us everything and probably presented themselves as innocent. Coerced into something by him. I can prove what I will say. I assume you have collected everything from our homes? Of course. Is my grandson in custody? Hmm? I raised an eyebrow, looking at Oleg, who took out a notebook and flipped through it before nodding and speaking up. Ignacio Oberta, 19 years old. Black hair, blue eyes, average height and build. He is currently held in a camp with the rest of the Oberta household, guarded by the Baron's forces. If you promise to spare my and my family's life, we can serve you. Excuse me? I chuckled, leaning back, feeling surprised. The way he spoke made it evident he thought he still had an ace up in his sleeve, something that would make him invincible. If you promise to keep us all alive, we will serve you. We can provide you with something that nobody else can. Not here, not even in the capital. You are awfully confident that it is something I am going to be interested in. Every ruler of your position would be. Old Oberta repeated, never flinching, maintaining his utmost confidence in whatever it was. And what that would be. I will only say it if you guarantee our survival, if you give your word as Viscount Leon of the Frontier that my family and I will not be killed. Not now, not later. Is it CC? The thing built into your warning devices? I know people were smuggling them, which made them die out in my region. If it is, I don't think I will touch it. Of course, that was a lie, because for sure I would confiscate them all for myself. It is better than some low-level magic stone. High-level variants? I am not saying anything anymore, not until I get a written guarantee. You really have trust in it, huh? I shrugged, leaning back, playing with my fingers, thinking. A noble's promise is worth more than gold. A broken promise will be a stain that forever excludes them from others' trust. It is the same for us businessmen. I didn't answer him this time, as I was already running through multiple guesses in my mind about what it could be. First, he asked about his grandson. Is he the secret keeper? Is he the connection with the underworld, where they get the CC from? Do they have something better? Maybe an artifact? A source of CC? No, not that. For one, if they had that type of source, they would not be doing what they were caught for. Through CC alone, they could bribe themselves up the social ladder very quickly. Just by overturning a source of CC to the Empire, skipping us in the process would raise them into a noble status as a reward. So it had to be something else. That was when it clicked. Something better. And his first question was if his grandson was all right or not. Something that would make me want them alive. Oleg, please escort him back to his cell. I will need to think about it. I await a positive answer, Viscount of the Frontier. He nodded, and I could feel in his voice that he was already sure I would take the bait. Until my general returned, I remained in my chair, thinking through it again and again. When he entered the room, I could see the question bubbling within him. He just didn't want to interrupt my thoughts. Send your fastest men back home. Bring Yuri here with a few of her girls. Yes, my lord. He bowed, not asking questions, no matter how curious he was. Tell them to come here without delay, but don't let anyone see them arrive. When finished, come to my uncle's room. Will you tell us already or keep us guessing? Elliot asked after we had gathered in his room, and I had just been walking around for 5 minutes. A moment. I hummed, going through my theory one last time. While I was strolling in a small circle, Sasha was sitting in one of the largest chairs, rubbing her feet that were finally freed from her high-heeled shoes. My uncle was holding a cup of wine, leaning against the open window, enjoying the midnight breeze coming through, while Oleg was standing at the door, arms crossed, waiting patiently. Luckily, I did not fear any eavesdropping, as we were 4 stories high from the ground, so there was no chance of anyone else overhearing us. I am 99% sure that Ignacio Oberta is a mage. What? They said in such a perfect sync that I couldn't help but whistle loudly. I was thinking about this since he brought it up. The way he questioned me, his priorities, and his confidence that I would not say no to his offer. It all points to the fact he has a trump card that defeats everything in his way. Something that could get him out of this neck-deep shit show. It can't be CC, it didn't save the rest before him, so he is not stupid. What else could be if not a mage? An unregistered one, somebody the Empire did not take away because they don't know about him. Another mage, Sasha mumbled, but she couldn't decide if she was excited or not. Are you going to recruit him? Elliot asked the same question that was floating within my wife's mind. I thought about it. So you will. He shrugged, but then Oleg cleared his throat, speaking after I gave him an encouraging nod. My lord won't recruit him. How do you know that? Elliot asked, curious, looking back and forth between us, watching me crack a smile. He is right. I did send for my crazy hound. Are you sure? Sasha questioned, sounding a bit worried. I am. I went through multiple possibilities. None ended well. First, the boy is already an adult and experienced in life. He has been working closely with his family. I lost the time frame to brainwash him to my side. Who will he be loyal to? Me or the old bastard? The old man. Elliot nodded immediately. Very likely. Secondly, the fact that their family had been destroyed and pushed into servitude can and would plant hatred within them. Taking them in would be nothing but caressing a viper in my bosom. Thanks, but no thanks. So are we continuing as if nothing had happened? Sasha asked while I waited for my uncle to rejoin us as I saw him thinking. His grandson is dangerous, he said after a minute or so. He is. If we go ahead, we can light a fuse we can't extinguish in time. We don't know what type of magical abilities he has. What is his training? What does he have on him? You have a plan? Elliot asked, watching me without blinking. I do, kind of. I shrugged, looking at my wife. Sasha will stand by. She nodded, not complaining, going along with my decision the moment she heard it. If must, she can cast fire spells. Awawa. This time it finally registered in her. She would have to do it without any help. There are no tablets here, no pre-made formations. She would have to create them and summon a spell. All by herself. I don't know if... We have not much time, I encouraged her with a smile. I am confident that I am right, and a rogue mage could be dangerous if he goes against us. They are in the corner. The moment all escape routes are closed off, they will attack and fight for survival. This must be done fast and quick. I already ordered my men to be ready. Oleg saluted, making an official report. The camp is big, but we formed a second circle around it, behind the Baron's forces. Anyone trying to leave will be killed. Good, also don't let anyone enter either. How do you want to do it? Elliot asked. Will you accept his deal? Knowing you broke your word will forever stain your reputation. Nobody has to know it. I chuckled. This was the exact reason why I recruited Yuri. This was the first mission of my Black Ops team. Everyone knows they did something terrible, announce they are all executed while listing their crimes and proofs for them. I will take Iskra with me, along with their families, and will deal with them. You don't need to worry about the rest. You would really give up on a mage? He smiled, looking at me with a different kind of light in his eyes. If he is dangerous to me, yes, I will. Without hesitation. You truly are my nephew. With a laugh, he throws his hands into the air, shaking his head. Sure. Let's do it as you say, Viscount Leon. Oh, one more thing, Baron Elliot. I copied his voice, making him roll his eyes. I know Dorian and his family. I will make it seem like they were also wiped out and escort them to a different place where you can come and pick them up. I know you enough by now, Leon. Thanks, Uncle. Whatever. Just make sure you will give me a good price on things. Don't forget I am kinda wiping your ass here. Hey, we are working together. I am helping you remove a dangerous mage from under your nose. It is me who is wiping your bum. I joked back before both of us chuckled at the same time. It took only 2 days for Yuri to arrive. In the meantime, I met with Iskra twice and finally accepted his proposition. I tried pressing a little to make him spill the beans, but it did not happen. He was sure of himself and was willing to gamble on it. It reinforced my thoughts too, because I got the feeling he was confident that even if he didn't, the others would indeed survive this, which would mean they would have a chance to escape. I could not think of anything else. Even a local bandit force would not be foolish enough to attack the Baron's forces, not to mention mine. While Elliot was gathering them in a spot where nobody would notice them, transporting them away in the night, I met up with Yuri, who came with a dozen of her girls. We were waiting for them with fresh horses a kilometer away from the city. When they arrived, theirs were on the verge of collapsing. I felt terrible for the poor animals. "Yo, hubby," she shouted, jumping off the swaying horse and skipping towards me with a wide grin. "Who needs to die?" "Who said you need to kill someone?" I asked jokingly, letting her hug and kiss me, which lasted a little too long, so Sasha pulled her off me. "Please, I am not stupid. Someone fucked up if you ask for me and my bitches. So, what's the play? Who will I butcher today?" "A mage," I answered, and I saw her shiver. "Oh, fuck. What a great trophy. Fuck yes. Yes. Since that day, I wanted to fucking gut a bastard." "Where? Tell me." "Slow down." I raised a hand, pressing a finger against her lips. "I will hold a briefing. You need to follow the plan, because killing a mage must be done quickly. I don't want to waste any of you. Gather around. It is time for you all to be inducted as my hidden blade for real." Chapter 72, Black Ops 2. It didn't take me long to explain the details to Yuri and her subordinates. The family of the Obertars were all in a small camp a few kilometers away from our spot. Right now, a contingent of soldiers from my uncle's army, numbering 70, were guarding them while my men were further away, on horses, ready to act if anything happened. "So we should go in and go to town." "Or?" Yuri asked, playing with her hair, twirling it around her index finger with a half smile. "Your priority is him." I pulled a drawing of Ignacio out and presented it to them. "He is a suspected mage and could be dangerous. Eliminate him first, then we can deal with the rest." "We?" Yuri hummed, looking at me while passing the picture amongst the rest. "I will transport old Obertar over. The deal was that I would enter the camp with him and Oleg accompanying me." "Nonsense," shouted not just Sasha but Yuri too, surprising me. "You two, in sync? Is the sun rising from the west?" I mumbled, rubbing the insides of my ringing ear. "Like hell, you will walk into the camp. An idiot could tell you that this is a trap. If he is a mage, you most likely will be jumped, killed, or worse." Yuri explained, almost shouting at me angrily, while Sasha was nodding her head like a woodpecker. "Worse? Whatever. I know. That is why I say you need to take the boy out clean and quick. I will go in with the old one so they won't be suspicious. He expects me to come, as it will be there that he finally tells me the big secret." "Too dangerous," Sasha complained, but I simply shrugged. "I know it is dangerous, but we have the advantage. For one, the old bastard doesn't expect us to know about mages as much as he does. We know full well that for a spell to be used, the user needs to be focused and talented enough. Casting without preparation is hard. Then there are the clues for a spell's activation: the glow, the rush of mana, and the appearance of a magic formation. These all take time and give us a chance to react. But Leon, we don't know what type of preparations they may have made. What kind of power is he capable of wielding? It is too much," Sasha pleaded, and I had the same argument with Oleg a few hours ago. He was also against the idea, but in the end I made him agree. I was going through the same argument, but it warmed my heart. "We can interrupt it." I answered her after she finished, maintaining my confident smile. "You mages need focus. Breaking that concentration disrupts the spell. Plus, I don't think they have more than one wizard, especially not one like Merlin." "I agree. That would be bad as he can reinforce you and, even if your concentration breaks, push the spell through to be completed. But all the lore says his powers are rare. We have the upper hand here." You already decided, Yuri murmured, looking into my eyes and reading my thoughts. Yes, I did. Ha! Leave it, Sasha. He is a mule, so he will do it anyway. We will protect him, so relax. But, Yuri, she stuttered, wanting to ask for support, but by now Yuri had also agreed with me. I know the risks, but I also know our advantages. I trust each and every one of your abilities. If I didn't, I wouldn't do it this way. While speaking, I ensured everyone present could hear me. I also have a principle in my mind that I want to adhere to. Stopping momentarily, I couldn't help but recall my old commanding officer. When we got a mission, he was right in the firing line amongst the first to lead us forward. That was someone I followed, while the order givers, the prominent generals who came up with it, were just a concept in our minds, hunkered down somewhere safe, far away. They were people I gave no shit about. I may do something stupid now, but I don't want to become the latter. If I want to lead, I must do it from the front, not from the back. That is all. We will keep him safe, my lady, Oleg whispered, patting Sasha's shoulder, who then began pouting. I am coming with you too. No, I answered firmly and explained it to her. You will stay on the outside, overseeing the soldiers in case something goes awry. If the target or others try to flee, it will be your job to use magic and stop them. Ah, yes, we grabbed these for you. I knew it would become useful. Yuri laughed, waving her hand, and 2 of her soldiers brought forth 4 stone tablets for Sasha. Smart, I grinned, nodding at them, and we went over the plan again for the last time. Don't worry, my hubby, Yuri winked at me. You won't notice us, and before you see it, the target will be dead. Leaving the city with Iskra Obertar was done in the middle of the following night, and after we were finally far enough, we removed the bag from his old head, letting him look around in the back of the carriage. You won't be disappointed, my liege, he said confidently, and I think I saw his small lips curl to a smile under those heavy wrinkles plaguing his spotched face. If your trump card is not something up to par, you will still be executed. I answered coldly, crossing my arms before my chest. Oh, I wouldn't worry about that, my liege. You will see that taking us in will be the best choice for your territory. I heard you cleaned out most of the nobles. You must have trouble keeping everything in order. I see. The bastard was clever, or at least well-informed. Was he already thinking he would become one of my new nobles? Given his own territory with even more freedom than existing under my uncle. It can't be that all of this was his plan all along. That would be either incredible or just stupidly lucky. Was he scheming to, one day, become the ruler of the frontier? All of that could also be swirling in his shriveled head, but they will not come to pass. I refused to indulge him any further, making sure that I did seem cautious and suspicious for now. If I showed a too lax attitude, he could suspect something. Arriving at the camp, I spoke with the guard captain there after we got off the carriage, telling him to withdraw his people. It was part of our agreement to set up a secondary encirclement to ensure nobody escaped the camp, which looked like medieval fair in the countryside. While walking in, Oleg never left my side after cutting off the ropes from Iskaria's wrists, letting him walk before us, leaning on his stick. Inside the camp, the Obertar family, including all the servants, numbered around 30 people and were separated into 4 tents. I knew that 2 were for the old bastard's family, his direct bloodline, and the branch family, while the other pair of tents were for the subordinates and servants. He had already handled his family as if they were nobles. This will do, I said, stopping him from approaching the tents and putting my hand on his shoulders. We were still about 30 meters from them, watching people emerge, trying to see who had come. It isn't a trap. Iskra chuckled darkly before raising his hoarse, ancient voice, shouting at them, It is me. Ignacio, come here. I wasn't surprised that the others didn't recognize us at once, as it was deep into the night. The torches along the temporary campsite were not bright enough to illuminate everything, even if the moon was out and shining down on us. Are you going to tell me already or not? I asked, keeping my hand on his shoulder, squeezing it a little, making his arm flinch on his walking stick. He was old, so I knew it had to hurt him. That was my goal. Have you ever met a mage, Your Highness? He asked with deep sarcasm and pride in his voice, which evaporated when I answered him. I am trying to impregnate one. I gave him no more time or clues. I watched his grandson approach us, fiddling with something within his robes, or he was just trying to fix his pajamas under it. I don't know, but it did not matter. They had to go. It happened without a noise or a cry. I just saw Ignacio's body stiffen and then fall sideways, lifeless, while an arrow was sticking out from the side of his head. It was a perfect headshot. Not even a sniper from my old comrades could do it any better, especially at night. Goodbye, Iskra Oberta. I looked down at him, drawing my own sword, pushing it into his chest, through his heart. I saw the blade come out from his back, letting him fall over with eyes that were now completely open, forever encasing his face in shock. He couldn't comprehend what happened and why I would do this. This was wholly unreasonable and nonsensical in his point of view. By the time his body reached the dirt ground, screams were filling the camp, shouts that were one by one abruptly silenced. I saw Yuri's gang, no, my Black Ops soldiers, appear from nowhere, dressed in all black, silently rushing from one tent to the other, slitting their occupants' throats, killing everyone present, no matter their gender, age, or desperate pleadings. The only one who didn't join in the massacre was Oleg, staying with me at all times, scanning the surroundings constantly while I walked to the dead Ignacio, searching through his body. "Look at this," I whispered, pulling out a scroll from his hand before it became too stiff to do anything about it. "A spell," Oleg murmured, gulping for a moment. "By the runes within, it looks like some kind of illusionary spell, maybe a mind-influencing one. Huh. I will have to study this." "You were right, my lord." "It seems like it, yes. Even if not, I wouldn't feel guilty. They were traitors once. I can't trust traitors. I value loyalty the most over everything." I whispered, watching how Yuri and her girls did what my soldiers probably would not do, or they would have serious issues arising from it, especially mentally. "Is this why you did not let Lady Sasha come with us?" he asked me as the cries slowly died down, replaced with the noise of bodies being dragged forward and laid down next to each other. "Yes. This is a nasty, dark, and evil night. She is too pure for this. I don't want to taint her." "What about me, my lord?" I knew he was joking, evident from the half-smile on his face as he stood beside me, still guarding me, even if seemingly everyone else was dead. "I trust you, don't worry. I will take the blame if this ever comes to light." I shrugged, finally looking away from something that would count as a war crime in my old life. I would probably be put on trial and executed afterward. "Blame from who?" Oleg asked, confused. "I don't think anyone would have any right to say anything. You are their sovereign, my lord. That is why I will not hesitate to commit such crimes. I will protect my people, my land, and our collective future at any cost. If anyone dares to talk about it, I will kill them personally, my lord." Oleg saluted, making me smile a little, watching as one of the black silhouettes approached me. I could tell from the way she was swaying her hips with bloody daggers in her hands that it was Yuri way before she removed her mask. "All done. None survived," she said proudly, watching me, licking her lips. "How was it?" "Yours?" I asked, pointing my foot toward Ignacio's body on the ground. "Of course. I always wanted to kill a mage. The thing they did to—" she murmured, spatting on the corpse, and in a way I saw her face smoothen out. I remember what she told me about her meeting with that mage when she was a kid. I could understand her. "What do you want to do with the bodies?" She turned back towards me with a wide grin on her face. "Strip them, search them, then set them ablaze. Leave nothing behind." "Brr, Leon, my love, we could have been the best bandit pair." "Isn't this better?" "Oh yeah, it is." "Ah ha ha ha. I didn't know you were this brutal. I thought you were tough when we met because you were facing whores like me. But this? Fuck. I am slopping wet down there. Want to fuck? Just a quickie. Please?" "You are my dirty side, Yuri," I whispered, leaning in and giving her a kiss before gently patting her face. "Sasha is my bright one. You girls are keeping me in balance, you see." "Nobody told me before that I am their dirty little secret," she murmured, and I watched her blush like a young maiden. Ha! She is still the same Yuri, he he he. "Go, finish the job, I'll help too. Then we go back. Calm Sasha down because I bet she is anxious." Roger, with a lousy salute she whistled, called her girls over and began stripping and then piling up the bodies, while I also participated in it. If you have the stomach to give the order for such a cruel and abhorrent act, it is the least that you see it through the end. Or don't complain if karma comes back to bite you in the arse. What is it, my lord? Oleg asked, seeing me form a weak smile. First, I did this to my own nobles. Now to this. I will either be remembered as a butcher, parading as a kind ruler, or as a plain dictator. Dictator? What is that? Nothing. Nothing. Let's get to work. I need to take a bath afterward. Chapter 73. Sabotage 1. When I ensured everything was burning, I left behind Yuri and her team, tasking them to dispose of all evidence and head back home without anyone else noticing they were here at all. She was unhappy to leave without having her way with me, but that had to wait for a later day. This was not yet over. Everything is fine, Sasha asked the moment she saw me come out of the sealed-off campsite, rushing over, leaving her post without thinking. Yes. I smiled at her, hugging and rubbing her head. It is finished, and it turns out I was right. I knew she wanted to go in and take a look, but I wouldn't let her do that. Instead, I used the found parchment as a distraction, giving it to her and letting her study it while we walked away, leaving the massacre behind. How's things? Elliot asked the first thing in the morning, walking into the study where I was waiting for him, sipping on coffee, being alone with my thoughts for the past few hours. All good. I was right, as it turns out. What about you? You are moving like an old man, and I can see you slept less than me. I grinned, joking, making him roll his eyes. Duh. Everything hurts. I look like a plum under this shirt. And it hurts when the fabric touches it while I move around. Tisk. But enough of me. What about the proof? What did you find? A prepared spell in the hands of his grandson before he got a shot in the head. Sasha and I studied it all night. We are sure it is a mind-affecting spell. We are not yet certain what kind of impact we are speaking of, but I will have a deeper look at it back home, where I can focus on the issue freely. It could mean many things. Maybe he just wanted to present it. And he wasn't a mage. Are you trying to call me out or guilt-trip me? I sighed, taking another sip while he moaningly sat opposite of me, pouring coffee into his own cup. Nah, you are probably right. We found a small amount of CC hidden within their courtyards. They were using it, and we found bills and passes for underground auctions out of this region. They were in touch with multiple underground organizations as regular customers. Pfft, why not just destroy those? I laughed, shaking my head. Ah, merchants. And their love of ledgers and bureaucracy. Or are those the lawyers? What is a lawyer? I couldn't help but look at him to see if he was joking or not. But I don't think he was. Well, whatever. What will you do? Give it to you, of course. What? Should I report it? Then the Empire will ask why I didn't discover them initially. What am I doing? Thanks, but no thanks. I love you. No, just take it away and make it so I don't have to worry. He grunted, waving my teasing away. I want peace to return to my land so I can start focusing on what I love to do. Trading. This inner fighting bullshit is bad for business. I will also ignore the underground rings. That is the Empire's problem to worry about, not mine. I don't want to get involved in higher-ranked nobles' power moves. I agree. So, what else did you find? Documents. Some for blackmailing others and some for taking over businesses. Now that these families are going away, all of those will become mine. So in a way, they should also be rewarded for strengthening me. How weird. You can be nasty if you want, aren't you? I smiled, making him look at me with a look who's talking glare. All of them gets the axe? Yes, I already wrote up the announcement and will go public with it today. Their crimes will be there to be seen with all the proof we gathered, and their heads will be put on display after their execution. I only feel sorry for their families. There are a lot of historical events where survivors swore revenge and achieved it. I shrugged, knowing full well what he was thinking about. Very true, so let's not talk about it anymore. It takes away my appetite. What about my request? Don't worry, I kept my word. They are currently in custody. For now, they think they will be dealt with as the rest, but when you are ready, I will transport them out of the city. From then on, it will be your job to take them away. I know. Oleg is preparing the carriages for the travel back home, so we will borrow a few of yours. Borrow? He raised an eyebrow, and I quickly added with a shrug before he began asking for money for it. Don't worry, I will return them to you, packed with some goodies you can resell. Relax, uncle, I did not forget. Good, because since that night I already received letters from the lords under me. They want to buy the first batch. Perfumes, yes? What else? He asked sharply, making me sigh again. I was hopeful. Oh well. I'll see what I can do. Don't forget I need clear glass. Without that, I can't do much. Do something about it for now, because I can't send my men over to the Etuvians without the perfumes and hope to strike a deal. They won't be interested in the rest. I must also spend money to pass the borders, as they are closed, on paper. Will you get into trouble? No. If we were in a strained relationship, then yes. But when the situation is lax, as it is now, you can go back and forth. Just pay the right people. Suddenly, I feel as if I'm back at home, I murmured, making Elliot raise an eyebrow, but he asked nothing in the end, thinking he had misheard me. I will send over some gold. Really? Yes, but not gold coins, pure gold. Use it to get through the borders and get what I want. How did you get your hand on… Wait. Suddenly, he began whispering, leaning forward, ignoring his hurting chest, watching my eyes. A mine? Yes, I answered simply, making him shiver. How big? So-so, nothing major. I lied without flinching, but enough to spend extra on what I need. Lucky bastard, you are the luckiest one I know. Well, if your luck brings such boon to me too, please don't stop finding good things. He laughed, his brain already working on something else. If you can finance it, then yeah. I can get you a shipment of clear glass before winter. That soon? Money makes things go faster, so yes. Solid gold bars? I can make do with that. Ha, sure. Tell me how much you need, and I will see what I can do. I shrugged, looking defeated, raising my cup towards him, hiding my excitement deep within. If you are sleepy, just lay down. I can't sleep in a carriage, she mumbled, barely keeping her eyes open, leaning against me. It's too bumpy. True. I shrugged, looking out of the window as we were leaving Lothlia. At first, I was disappointed that only the perfume was the thing they were interested in. Then my thoughts were disrupted after seeing the heads of the merchants above the gate, hanging in iron cages. I wondered how close I was to being one of them when I decided to recruit Yuri. Luck, here we are again. Why do I feel that my immense luck is going to be balanced out very soon, and in a way, I won't like it? Worried? Sasha asked, kissing my neck, making me turn away from the changing scenery and looking at her instead of the iron cages in the sunset. Yes and no. Not important, my dear. With a hug, I pulled her closer, rubbing her head, which made her smile like a happy puppy. Right until we left the city's cobblestone roads and turned onto the route leading us home, beginning to throw us around in the carriage at once. My next big project will be making my people lay down proper roads. I will first connect my city with our villages and the old castle, and then move towards Lothlia. It will also speed up our travels and make it more comfortable. I agree. Ugh, my stomach feels funny. Lay down, dear. Let your hubby care of you, I whispered, and soon I was not just caressing her tummy, but began stripping her down, turning the uncomfortable ride and bouncing around to our advantage. We are here, my lord. Oleg saluted while I stepped out of the carriage, fixing my shirt and vest, and hastily closing the door behind me. Let her rest. I walked forward before he had a chance to ask if Sasha would join me. The ride exhausted her. So, where are they? I asked, looking up at the clear night sky, watching the countless stars and the giant moon. Just 100 meters, my lord. The prisoner carts arrived a while ago, and we were checking their identities until now. All of them are here. 23 individuals in total. What's the ratio? I asked, continuing to listen to his report, enjoying the cool night breeze, getting refreshed at once. 11 men, 12 women. From that, we have 7 adults, 6 teenagers, and 10 young kids. I already knew what he meant by teenagers, as it should be kids between 10 and 14, while the kids meant they were below the age of 10. Pretty big family, as I wasn't going to bring the servants away. Only the core lineage of Dorian. Why do we have this many people, hmm? It is the whole family, my lord. Brothers and sisters, along with their children. Everyone who would have been afflicted. Oh well, sure. For now, make the new recruits guard them every hour of every day. Ensure that the rotation is being upheld perfectly and they don't go anywhere without supervision. For the first year, they are going to be open-air prisoners. Yes, my lord. Viscount? I heard a weak, terrified voice as we arrived, and my eyes met with Dorian's, who was standing with his wife and 2 kids. He was still unsure what was happening. Were they out of the frying pan, or were they going to be made to dig their own grave? Before I could open my mouth, one of the children began crying loudly, interrupting me before I could start. Shh, it's okay, it's okay. I watched calmly as the mother tried to soothe her son, but that was the first falling domino, because the other young kids began crying one after the other. Viscount, we... Dorian stuttered, deathly pale, no longer sure if they were being pardoned or not. You all are coming with me, I answered by raising a hand, ignoring the cries. On paper, you and your family are dead. It no longer exists. Got it? Yes? He nodded, breathing heavily and quickly, trying to stay standing as a sudden relief made his muscles relax at once. You will be under constant surveillance the following year, and you are going to work for me. We will provide you with homes to live in, but you can't leave my city or wander around without my guards accompanying you. Oh, of course. Everything my lord says. I could tell that everyone amongst them was just as relieved as him, escaping the jaws of death. On my carriage, there are a few blueprints from your previous courtyard containing the plans for your machinery. I will let you rebuild your workshop, but you will do what I tell you to do. No independence. Understood, my lord. He nodded, kneeling at once, mainly to mask his trembling legs, unable to keep him standing anymore. We will talk about this later after you settle down. For now, organize your family and keep them in line. Remember, you are prisoners, not free men yet. Act accordingly. Now, after you are ready, board the 3rd and 4th carriage, and we will be on our way. It is a long way back to my city. Chapter 74, Sabotage 2. The road back home was taking a little longer with our inflated size, but they were surprisingly obedient. I kept an eye on Dorian, examining his skills as the family leader, keeping everything together with the others. Well, not that they had any other choices anyway. I couldn't help but feel a bit excited, thinking what their expression would be like when they saw my city. But those thoughts were quickly chased away when I noticed multiple riders hurrying towards us. I watched as Oleg stopped our carriage and rode forward, meeting them before turning his horse around and galloping back to us. We were already in my territory, so I knew they were our people. There was no doubt about that. My lord, slow down. I leaned out of the window, watching his troubled face. The world didn't collapse now, did it? That didn't, but the temple did. Explain, I ordered, my voice deepening. Only a day ago, the half-completed temple collapsed, while the workers were beginning to prepare the structure for installing the roof. It came down completely. So far, we know of around a dozen dead workers and many more injured. The news says that people are still missing under the rubble. Minister Merlin has taken control of the situation, and they are working to clear it and rescue those who may still be trapped under it. But their chances to survive are slim, I get it. Collapse, how? What happened to the magical formations that should make the stones weightless while building? The Prime Minister sent a letter. My lord, he whispered, giving it to me, and it was still wax-sealed by the minister's new emblem, the stylized A of Avalon. Opening it and reading through his hasty handwriting, I was surprised at how collected and sharp he was, pointing out the main issue he discovered after investigating the collapse. The formations were sabotaged, and examining the mortar used to hold it together was different. Weak. It was nothing but a dreg. Sabotage, I whispered, shocking Sasha, who was leaning over my shoulder, reading the letter. My lord, Oleg gasped, his hands trembling, automatically going towards the hilt of his sword. The first clues point towards that being the case. Sasha, you stay with the men here and take over looking after Dorian and the rest. Escort them into the city, to their new home, and get them settled in. So far, don't let them come out, and don't let them see it happened. That would undermine our authority. This came at the worst time possible. Yes, she nodded, kissing my cheeks while I climbed out and on a horse, leaving with Oleg, joining the messengers, and riding straight towards Avalon. Lord, Merlin shouted, rushing up to me when we arrived. Good job. Any news since you wrote me the letter? I asked, patting his head, looking at the giant pile of rocks and rubble that was still being carried away by hundreds of volunteers. I could even see Mikan amongst them, working with her 2 hands. I investigated the formations first. I was the one who drew them up initially, especially now, as we were getting ready to raise the blocks high up. I suspected that maybe the CC implementation was screwed up, or maybe I made a mistake. Now that we are switching to using CC to activate them, I thought I maybe did something wrong. He murmured, still feeling guilty, but continued, stealing his expression and voice. They were modified. By who? Not a mage, he answered, knowing full well what I meant because of my tone of voice and because my eyes were watching Mikan, trying to see if her worried expression meant something else. But no. She was so focused on finding more people and helping them that she didn't even notice my arrival. They were intentionally chiseled away, randomly. Whoever did it didn't know the runes' meanings. The other thing is the mortar. The mix was off, very off. I took samples and brought them away for you to examine them. Minister Renner is currently compiling all the workers' names and details of those who operated at the temple. He is in the palace, Lady Luna keeping an eye on him. Good work, I whispered, watching the devastation and the bodies covered by dirty sheets a few meters away. If you want to… No. I interrupted him, walking into the rubbles, rolling up my sleeves, and beginning to haul the shattered rocks and debris away. I don't know when the people noticed me, but I didn't care. I worked alongside them just the same, instructing them what to do and helping them drag the bodies out right until nightfall. In the end, we managed to pull 3 bodies out, workers who were still breathing. When I finally retreated to the palace, I went straight to meet Renard, not bothering with wiping off the grime and dust from my body. I looked like I was a miner myself as I entered the sparkling, clean throne room. My lord, Renard exclaimed, trembling. The minister's table was filled with hundreds of stacks of papers being organized into multiple piles. I take full responsibility for the… He started trying to pull himself together, but I didn't want him to think I was blaming him. Not your fault. It was sabotaged, as you already know. We were too lax with the city's security, and I myself didn't expect something like this to happen. It seems it was too much to ask of everyone to agree with me. Nobody had anything to say to me as I walked over to him, looking at the chaotic trail of bureaucracy, half handwritten, the other half printed. We will enact a change. We are going to do a census, register every living soul, and issue an identity card to everyone with their fingerprints recorded down. Fingerprints? Merlin asked, following me all day, looking just as battered and dirty as me. Yes, they are unique to the individual. There are no 2 same fingerprints on this earth. I calmly explained. Sadly, I don't think we can find our saboteur like that, as the place has been touched by too many people by now. Tig, if I knew that first, I wouldn't have let people start touching things. It is okay, Merlin. We saved some lives. That is what matters. I smiled at him softly, patting his back before turning back to Renard. I want the names of those who had access to the mortar. I want their full details, and I want it by morning. It will be done, my lord. Good. Merlin, you go home and rest. He wanted to say something, maybe protest, but in the end he nodded and left, while I headed towards my bathroom, leaving an anxious Renard behind with his trembling helpers, hurrying to complete my order before the sun came back up. Dorian has been settled down and for now is being guarded by multiple soldiers. You should not worry about him. Sasha whispered into my ears as we sat in our big, wide bath while she massaged my shoulders from behind. Thank you, dear. I moaned, looking towards the door and seeing Luna walk in, wearing a towel and bringing over a big tray filled with food. Here. She smiled happily, kneeling beside us and beginning to feed Sasha and me. Food? Asked Yuri, her head rising from below the water, gasping for air because she was nibbling on something else a moment ago. Luckily, she wasn't biting. Great. I need the energy because this is going to be a long night. Sorry about that, I added while she leaned over us, letting Luna feed her a piece of meat soaked in some kind of barbecue-like sauce. It's okay. With my girls, we will keep a quiet watch over the city and find the bastards. We will capture and bring them back before you if they try to meet up. If they are stupid enough to go against the mandated curfew. Luna shrugged, continuing to feed us like a mother hen, which was pretty funny. They did sabotage us, didn't they? Yuri argued, grinning with a savage light in her eyes. Bastards are already showing signs of being idiots. That is true. I moaned a little, feeling Yuri fix her position on me, sitting into my lap. Aren't you going to be tired? I looked at her while Luna put a piece of cheese into my mouth while Sasha continued kissing my neck. As I said, I need energy. Foo. You just rest. Leave the rest to us. Tisum, inside Sorbo's home, the head of the saboteurs, were unable to fall asleep. He was sitting at the table beside his kitchen window, watching the night sky while his legs were bouncing up and down, anxiously drumming on the stone floor. One of his hands gripped a half-empty bottle of ale, unable to decide whether to drink the rest or not. He felt sick to his stomach. Everything went south way too fast. They started with screwing with the composition of the mortar, but it seemed it was ineffective. It still made the stone slabs stick together, and the construction continued as planned for a week. No matter what they tried, the damned mortar was still holding the building together. Some suggested that the formations were the culprit, keeping it weightless, so they began planning what to do with them. After investigating a little, they found them all and finally sabotaged them the previous night, but the construct still remained standing. Until morning. Then the workers arrived, continuing their job, noticing that something was off. Still, even as they sent for help about why the formations were not functioning, they continued with what they could, not wanting to fall behind schedule. They were selected to build it for a reason. They were talented and professional workers, as Minister Renard once said in an open speech, so they were not going to be held up by some minor setback. Yet that setback turned out to be worse, as only half an hour later, the whole structure, now weighing its full strength, was unable to hold up its weight and simply collapsed, burying dozens of people. Fuck. Sorbo repeated over and over again, raising the bottle with shaking hands, taking a swing from it, wanting to forget the shouts, cries, and the thundering rumble it caused. He was close by, watching, witnessing it all before running home, and since that morning he had refused to come out or do anything. The only lucky thing he felt was that the others acted the same way. None came to visit him, neither in the day nor at night. Just keep your fucking mouths shut. Keep it shut, bastards. He grumbled, hoping that the rest knew how to lay low and stay out of sight, out of earshot until the dust settled. Waking up the following day, thanks to my wives, I felt much more relaxed, clear-headed, and ready to work. Walking into the throne room with Sasha and Luna, Renner was still there, without having a wink of sleep throughout the night. He stood straight when we entered, prepared to give me a full report. My lord, I have all the people of those who were tasked with preparing the mortar. Here are their names and family statuses, and I collected everything we know of their previous lives before coming to Avalon. Good job, Minister Renard, I whispered, taking it away from his trembling hands and beginning to read it through. You were thorough. I like it. Go back home and rest for today. I will need you to be focused. My lord, I can still work. No, this is going to be appropriately investigated, and I need clear heads. Go back home, Renard, and rest. You need it, as we all do. Even after catching the saboteurs, we must deal with the aftermath, prepare reparations for the dead workers' families, and so on. Reparations? He asked as multiple of his assistants also scratched their heads. Of course, the breadwinner of their families is dead. I won't let my people become vagrants in my own territory. Just as I exclaimed, the door opened and Merlin walked in. Looking at his robe, it was telling me that he was still not fully there. He was probably tired and was unable to sleep because all his buttons were misaligned. Now go and rest, Renard. We have a lot to deal with. First, I will examine the mortar that was used, I sighed, turning towards Oleg, who was arriving right behind Merlin. Then I will interrogate them one by one. My general, go, collect the people who have their names on this list and bring them to the palace. I want to have a good little chat with them all. Chapter 75, Sabotage 3. They did not notice the change in its consistency, I asked, squatting before the mortar that was used, examining it in the palace's garden. Although it already hardened, it was powdery and easily broken apart by hand. It reminded me of a term from my old world, tofu dreg. I asked them the same thing first, Merlin answered me quickly, but they thought it must be okay because it kept the building firm. Because the anti-gravity formations were operating, making it easy to lift the slabs and place them in place. Their weight was significantly reduced. There is good in what happened. Good, Sasha murmured, making me smile wryly. Imagine what would have happened if it collapsed after being finished. It could have been worse. Maybe it stood still for weeks, months, years. Then it collapses on a sermon, killing innocents, kids, and families. It would have undermined the people's perception of my buildings. It would have made them question if their homes would collapse or not. It could have been catastrophic. What I see, Merlin murmured after thinking over my words, is that someone tampered with it before the morning shift, and then it got remixed when people began arriving and continued building, further weakening it. And it was going on probably since the beginning. Whatever their original goal was, they became murderers, Sasha added with a firm voice. I can't forgive them. Even if they hate the church, as I do, risking our people's lives is outrageous. What will be their punishment, my lord? Merlin asked me, and although he was young, the way he looked at me, I knew he was fully aware of the weight of the situation. I am going to send them on a walk. I watched with a half smile while they looked at each other, surprised by my answer. You heard me right. I will arm them, give them supplies, and then send them out through the valley into the land of the beasts. They will be tasked with exploring the other side, and if they survive for 1 year, they can return. They must take notes, draw maps, and come back with information. If they do that, they will be pardoned. If they perish, their death at least served a purpose, unlike their current existence. That will be my ultimate punishment for taking others' lives. What if they don't do it? Sasha blurted out the first thing she thought about. I will put them into a metal cage out in the valley and leave them there to die a slow death. By the time we returned, Oleg had rounded up everyone who worked on preparing the mortar, numbering 4 individuals. Luka, Tomak, Zata, and Gartosh. They were chosen from the original team who worked on the walls, and because they showed more intuition than the rest, taking on tasks by themselves, they were delegated to the building of the temple. A promotion, if you will, letting them work more independently and oversee certain parts of the whole project. Merlin, when Rena returns, I whispered to him, before heading into the first interrogation, starting with Zata, tell him to take people to the walls and do a complete investigation. I want every centimeter of the walls to be inspected and tested to guarantee they weren't sabotaged. If anything is amiss, demolish it and start over. Don't worry, my lord. I will go there myself now and start on the examination. It can't wait. While he left in a hurry, I entered the first room with Oleg and Sasha, sitting down the opposite of a distraught, crying man. He knew full well why he was here, and when I asked what happened, he began pleading for his innocence. If I believed his words, he was doing nothing wrong. He came to work, mixed the mortar the same way as always, and helped distribute it amongst his small squad, working on the foundations. He could recite the correct mix from memory, proving he was taking his job seriously. I am no trained investigator, but my first feeling was that I believed him. Maybe because of the crying, or the fervor, he was trying to prove he was a loyal subject. While Sasha took notes, recording his words and my questions, Oleg was there to intimidate, always ready if he would become aggressive and need some discipline. When I was done, I made Oleg take him away and bring in the second one, Tomak. His tale was the same, and although he was deathly afraid, pale and trembling, he told me the same thing. Arriving and preparing the mixture, he noticed nothing weird. He even recited the correct mixture as well. After hearing all of their statements, it finally became strange. I think even a beginner detective would have spotted it by now. Let me reread it, Tomac's confession, I whispered, taking the papers from Sasha after we finished interrogating the last one, Luca, and we returned to my study to debate over them. And give me the one Gartosh gave, please. I think the same thing, she nodded, knowing what I was puzzled about. Their confessions are the same. Oleg joined in the conversation, picking up the papers and recording the other two's words, almost to the last detail. It does feel rehearsed, structured, memorized. I agreed, shrugging. They began the same, talked about the events in the same order, and they all finished with the same monologue. They are lying. But that is not enough of a proof. Proof, Oleg harumphed. This is enough, my lord. Off with their heads. I always forgot how things work here, I murmured, making my wife gently pat my hand. But I want more. We need to know if they worked alone or not. Why did they do it? What was the motivation? I want to learn it so I can avoid it next time. As I was thinking, a knock interrupted me, and I watched Renar walk in, accompanied by Luna leading him forward. I thought you were resting. I chuckled, raising an eyebrow, and then he bowed and began to explain hastily. I have news, my lord. Do you remember Master Perth? My master sculptor, yes. Of course I do. What happened? Was he amongst the dead? I stood up, biting my lips, but he shook his head, making me sigh with relief. Losing such a talented individual would be regretful. No, he wasn't, thank the gods. My lord, he came to me, saying he may know what or who was behind it. Really? Where is he? In the throne room. I only brought Minister Renar here. Luna interrupted us with a slight bow. Great. Come, let's go. I want to hear this at once. Hurrying in, I saw Perth pacing nervously up and down beside the minister's table, his arms crossed before his chest, his eyes betraying how tired and fearful he was at that moment. Mr. Perth, I exclaimed, startling him, followed by a deep bow from the master sculptor. My lord, I heard you have news for me? About the collapse of the temple? First, let me say I am grateful you were not amongst those poor souls who got buried under the rubble. I almost was, my lord. I just overslept. He answered, lowering his head, unable to look me in the eye. It seems your luck is prevalent, Mr. Perth. I am thankful for that. So, please tell me what you know. We just interrogated those who were in charge of handling the mortar. Sorbo Rugaria, he said, finding it hard to force his full name out of his mouth. I glanced at Renar, but he knew not about the name, which wasn't surprising. He is a worker in the same group I was, and he is someone I grew up with. We worked on constructing the city and on the wall together before I was accepted to my current position, my lord. The wall, I whispered, drawing in a deep breath, hearing Oleg harumph behind me with deep anger. The wall should be intact, my lord, Perth continued almost pleadingly. Sorbo and the rest of my old friends were unhappy that the church was going to reappear and that they even got a temple to boot. It's not the church, but I began, but I very quickly stopped. I did not honestly explain it to them, did I? Damn it, I should have made it clear that it wasn't the church, but my decision to build it, to allow my people to continue worshipping their gods as they pleased. Leon, Sasha murmured, seeing me freeze in place, stopping in mid-sentence. Some of the responsibility lies with me. I looked at her. I never bothered with explaining it to them clearly, did I? They can read and write. I should have made an announcement detailing why some things are being done. My lord, it can't be your fault. You already have to deal with multiple issues. Renar spoke up at once, not waiting for me to give permission to talk. If anything, this oversight was my fault, and I will take full responsibility. And mine as your general. We didn't even guard the construction zone at night. We have been too lax, my lord, Oleg added, making me shake my head. What happened, happened. I raised a hand, stopping them from starting to argue about who was to blame for it. We will come up with a way to support the dead workers' families, make sure they can stand on two legs as, ultimately, it stemmed from my oversight that they lost their husbands and sons. But I want to hear more. Perth, please, continue. My lord Sorbo expressed multiple times when we met in the tavern that he doesn't want the temple to be completed and for the church to return. We even argued about it, but I never thought they would resort to sabotage. I still can't believe it. He never told you, Sasha asked, making Perth shake his head vigorously. After my position was approved and I got the job to create the statues that would decorate the church, I was seen as a traitor, an enemy. We didn't speak for months, my lord. Thank you for telling us this, Mr. Perth. You did a great service to the crown, Sasha continued, stepping forward and gently bowing to him, making him bashful and troubled, bowing back even deeper, almost kneeling down. It is my duty, Lady Sasha. It is our duty to serve the sovereign and help protect our new lives from those who would try to demolish it, be it from the outside or the inside. I don't know if this was the result of their changed life or the lessons of Merlin. I did see some of his materials, and he was instilling the words duty and serving into the people, especially the youngsters. He was even turning some of my deeds into a bit of legend, like how I defeated the local nobles and church by myself and held the key to all magic. These were especially prevalent in his little fan fictions about me that were now in print and distributed in his classes as homework readings. How many people could have seen you come in here, Mr. Perth? I asked, making them go silent, looking at each other, not having an answer. You have a plan? Sasha turned towards me, smiling. I do. When escorting Mr. Perth back out, make sure nobody sees us. I ask of you, I continued, looking at the sculptor, to stay home and stay quiet. Yes, my lord. Oleg, you are going to release our guests. Let them go home and tell them they are cleared. Should I send people to follow them? He asked back, unsure, but he was thinking of the right thing. It won't be your job. That would be too obvious. Yuri will tail them and watch over them, including Sorbo's home. If they feel safe, they may make a mistake now. Like visiting the one who came up with this all. Either to blame him, extort him, or whatever else. My goal is to make them meet. Let them link me to Sorbo. We round them all up the moment they do, and our first open trial will begin. Open trial? Everyone asked, looking at me. Yes, what happened affects everybody living here, so we will hold their trial in the main square for everyone to see and hear. I will not make the mistake of leaving my people uninformed. They will know exactly what is going on. It's okay, Sasha whispered, hugging me and stroking my hand. It is not. That was a stupid mistake that cost me dozens of lives and future masterworkers. It is time we establish our first newspaper. Newspaper? She asked, tilting her head, making me smile and caress her face. Yes, I will make it so my people know precisely what is happening and why. Chapter 76, Open Trial. It was 3 days after the collapse of the temple, and the night turned out to be way darker than usual. Dark clouds were gathering above Avalon, hiding the moon and the stars, providing the perfect chance for Luca to finally sneak out from his home and head towards Sorbo's house. Sneaking through the streets and alleys, he tried to make as little noise as possible, waiting in the shadows, watching for patrols or anyone that may be out, taking him thrice the time to arrive than usual. He knew his childhood friend was up when he arrived because the light of candles was coming from behind his shutters. What are you doing here? Sorbo groaned, trying to hold back his shout, his words escaping through gritted teeth. The moment he heard the knocks, his heart almost stopped, creeping to the door very slowly. When he realized who was there, he pulled Luca in with 2 hands and slammed the door behind him. I had to come. Were you questioned? What did you tell them? I wasn't, Sorbo snapped, watching his pale-faced friend. What did you tell them? What we agreed upon. Good. If you weren't questioned, then that has to mean we are in a safe spot. I wouldn't phrase it like that. Came a low chuckle, and before the two could react, they saw a woman standing at the door, wearing a black skin-tight suit. Her face hiding behind a bland, featureless ebony mask, only showing her eyes. Who? The 2 men shouted, turning towards her, but after seeing the dagger she was playing with, they stopped themselves from attacking. You have 2 options, she continued, running one hand seductively over her body, making them realize the figure was missing one of her breasts as the suit was sticking to her in a weird way. Either you come with us quietly, or we bring you to the Sovereign by force. Don't worry, even if you chose the second option, you will remain alive. It will be a painful existence, but you will live, yet wish you weren't. It was enough to persuade the 2, as neither of them were in a state to fight. The moment Yuri stepped away from the door, multiple other, similarly dressed females strode in, taking them into custody and escorting the group toward the palace in complete silence. As to what awaited them, they didn't know, but they still had hope, as they were not yet killed on the spot. We got all of them, and we took their confessions. Merlin began, reporting to me in the throne room just after breakfast. This time, they were vastly different, all of them trying to point a finger towards the others, but mainly at Sorbo. We know he was the head of their little operation. What about the new names? I asked, shaking my head and making Oleg step forward. We have them all in custody, my lord. In total, we captured 9 men. Make sure no torture is being used while they are in custody. I iterated it again, telling Oleg this multiple times in the past few days. I am making sure the others are also following it. My lord, don't worry. He saluted, probably feeling like I was nagging him. Well, I was, as I was unsure if at any other time they would even get any trial instead of being hanged or beheaded at once. Good. How's the announcement? I turned towards Merlin, who looked at his little notebook, flipping a few pages. I made sure that it was being spread through the city, and Minister Renard is already building the podiums in the city square. In 2 days, we are ready to hold the open hearing and trial. We will be out in full force, my lord. My general assured me it is easily possible this would turn into a lynching event, but we will make sure we keep the people at bay. Good. Keep a lookout for instigators and remove them from the crowd. Try to be gentle. This will be heated, but we must remain civilized. I will announce their punishment before everyone. It is my job to sentence them, not theirs. I want them to understand this. After finishing the meeting with them and sending them on their way, I still had a private talk to conduct with Mikan. When I walked into my study, she was already there with Sasha and Luna accompanying her. You look horrible, I started, forcing her to smile a little, but I wasn't lying. She looked like someone who barely slept a wink, but at least not as bad when she learned about Mickey too. It is hard to sleep. I can still hear the rumble. She answered, raising her teacup while I sat beside my wives. Will you punish them? With death? Yes. I see, I am sorry, she whispered, lowering her golden eyes onto her tea. Not your fault. I wasn't clear enough with it, so some of the blame falls on my shoulders. Too many innocent lives have been lost. I feel guilty for it. If it wasn't for me, then something else would have happened. I interrupted her before she could go on. Tensions are bound to happen. We are in an era of change, and not a small one at that. If everything would go smoothly, I would suspect this is not real at all. For now, your job will be to somehow try and give solace to those families that were affected by it. Think of them and think of what you can do for them. It seemed that my words ignited something within Mikan, because when she looked back up into my eyes, she didn't look so distraught anymore. The temple will be built, and I think it would be a nice first sermon if you were to honor those who died. I thought of the same. She nodded, forming another smile. I just hope the families will accept my offering and not blame me for it. Even if they do, I will accept their words and— Only accept their words, Mikan. Sasha interrupted her, standing up and sitting down next to her, patting her hands. We can't control what people say, but they will be punished if they do something to you. That is unacceptable. Yeah, Luna agreed, munching on a cookie. Spanking only feels good in bed. What? She asked as we all looked at her, suddenly turning bright red. Wait, I said it out loud. Someone will be spanked tonight. I grinned, reaching out and pinching her face, making my wife moan while Mikan turned redder than ever, hearing Sasha shrug next to her. Ignore them. When things calm down, we should go out, Mickey, and revisit the bakery. I would love that. I would really love that now. When the trial's day arrived, I was surprised at how many people were trying to come and watch it. Probably the whole city was here, filling up the square, all the connected streets and alleys, hanging from the surrounding buildings' windows, and even sitting on the roofs. It was the first time I could really take a look at the sea of people who were now my subjects, filling me with a kind of happiness and pride. I walked out at noon, accompanied by Sasha and Luna, while Yuri played the role of my personal guard, including her private forces. Behind us arrived the ministers, And lastly, another group of soldiers, led by Oleg, securing our platform and surrounding it. It was elevated to around a 3-meter height, overlooking the square where a different podium was built up, and the 9 culprits were displayed on it, hands tied behind their backs, standing in a line, each of them guarded by one soldier. They were already on display for the past hour, letting the crowd shout, boo at them, and blame them for everything that happened. If not for my soldiers, some may have already collapsed, only held up by a pair of strong hands. Looking at those bulging biceps, I was sure that my experiment was proving my point. These new recruits, freshly out from training, were not as bulky as my father or his direct soldiers, but were on their way to becoming like them. Beast meat does have its effects. After my wives sat down, I remained standing, raising my arms high, and as if casting a spell, the crowd began calming down, words passing backward, silencing the square surprisingly quickly. "My people," I started, speaking as loudly as possible, without truly shouting. I was a bit bummed out that we didn't have microphones and loudspeakers, but something just can't be helped. Yet. We are gathered here today because what happened in our beautiful city is affecting all of us. "Yes," shouted someone who was followed by multiple similar cries and claps, making me wait and try to calm them down by raising my hands. Prime Minister Merlin has already published the full story on the multiple news posts around the city that we had set up, and I hope you all read it. If nothing else, those who did can tell their neighbors the whole, true story of what had happened. This was, of course, followed by another round of shoutings, outcries, and calling the men on the podium, all kinds of animals under the sun. This time, I did let them do it for a little, watching the 9 cry, fall into shock, ignore what was happening around them, or falter on the edge of fainting. For those, I continued after relative silence returned, who may not have heard it, I will now read you the accusations and the confessions of these criminals. By simply stretching my hand out, Merlin was prepared and pressed the pre-written speech into my hands that I only had to read. Still, it took me almost half an hour to finish it, and another half an hour for the crowd to process it and retell it to those who were way further back. There was a point where I should have let Sorbo and his gang speak up, but looking at their state, there was no chance they could muster a sentence at all. Who I truly pitied were some of their families. They were never going to be able to live an everyday life. Not in this city, that is for sure. I already talked with my ministers about it, and we decided to relocate them to one of the villages, assigning them jobs in keeping animals and working the limited farms we have. There, they would not be known and could at least live their lives without being prosecuted by everyone around them. Of course, I told the saboteurs this. I wasn't going to keep them guessing. Their punishment wouldn't be pressed onto their families. This was the most I could offer them, so they would die knowing their family was at least spared. Now, the verdict, I continued, silencing the crowd, and I think I could have heard if someone dropped a pin in that sudden silence. Examining the evidence, their confessions, it is without question that they intentionally caused the collapse of the temple that was commissioned by me. Not the church, but by me. Faith and the belief in the 6 gods is everyone's right, which I won't take from them. That does not mean the church has a hand in it. "Sovereign Leon," someone shouted, which was soon repeated by multiple others, making me start waving again to calm the crowd. I was beginning to feel like some kind of fitness guru on TV. Buildings can be rebuilt, but lost lives can't be recovered. Your actions cost us not just good men and future master builders, but sons and fathers. Good husbands. This crime warrants the highest punishment, and you will go down as the first group of people to be sentenced to the walk. This time, there was no shouting, but more of a cacophony of confused murmur, which I was expecting. I even saw Sorbo at the rest, looking up towards me, which they had not done until now. "You will be equipped," I continued without flinching, "with armor, weapons, and basic supplies, and you will be brought to the valley leading into the land of the beasts." I think one of them got it. Recalling his name, it was the one called Tomak. He was the first who fainted, and he only remained standing because my soldier behind him grabbed him by the neck, keeping him standing. "Your punishment is to head into the other side of the mountains and record everything you saw. After a year, you can return, presenting your findings and a drawn map. If you do so, your sins will be forgiven, your past abolished, and you will be allowed to start anew. I knew that it was a shocking verdict, and many didn't understand it, so I decided to address my people to close out the first open trial in my Avalon. We are all humans. We make bad choices and mistakes. It is in our nature. Even if our deeds are deplorable like these 9, redemption can't be denied by anyone who is part of Avalon. I am going to place their fate into the hands of the 6 gods. If they are truly sorry and are forgiven by them, they will survive the year and return from the land of the demons, cleansed and reborn. If not, then they have found their place in hell. Chapter 77, The Walk. I wasn't lying when I stated they would be armed and equipped. Only a day later, I was standing on the old castle's walls, looking down at the now green valley, watching as the 9 was forced out from the main gate by my father's soldiers. They were wearing leather armor, a mix of wooden and metal shields with a multitude of weapons. We gave them not just swords and bows, but daggers, pikes, axes, spears, and a huge backpack filled with supplies, be it food, water, or just tools that would help them make a camp. Of course, that wouldn't last them for long, so they would need to forage and hunt for themselves. Oleg was arguing with me about it, because in his eyes, this was nothing but a waste of good resources, and he was probably right. But without trying and investing a little, you will never know if you could have succeeded or not. It would always be in the back of my mind, nagging at me. One has stopped, my general said, interrupting my thoughts. After looking down, I saw the man standing there, not walking anymore. The others were already 100 or 200 meters away before noticing his absence, finally stopping, turning around and looking at him. At first they didn't know what to do, but soon they began to shout, trying to tell him to hurry up. "It's Sorbo," I hummed, leaning against the wall and looking down, watching him stand there, unable to take another step forward, but not having enough courage to turn around. "The mastermind?" Sasha asked, furrowing her brows and following my gaze. "Coward. You really hate him, huh?" I patted her head, playing with her hair. "His selfish, idiotic actions killed innocent people." "Of course I do. You taught me a lot of things, Leon. And I agree, punishment must be severe to ensure others never try to mimic them. I don't know what living in other parts of the world looks like, but I like it here. I don't want it to be gone, and I think most of the people would agree with me if I asked them." "The soldiers are ready any time," Oleg added sternly, keeping his eye on them, and when the other 8 showed signs of turning around, it was time to act. "Shoot a warning shot," I ordered, and watched as multiple arrows cut through the air, landing between Sorbo and the rest of the group, finally stopping them from turning around. Yet, the man himself was still rooted in place. "He won't move," Oleg murmured, his voice filled with disappointment. "He gave up. The wimp." "Let me," Sasha exclaimed, raising her voice and making us look at her as she stood up on the wall, letting the wind blow her hair behind her like a majestic cape. "Are you sure?" I smiled, watching her determined expression. "I am your queen. You said it yourself. Trust me, Leon. I will be strong. I am not a kid nor a weak girl anymore. I do trust you, and I always will. Go ahead." Putting her hand into her pocket, she pulled out a raw CC crystal around the size of a larger pebble. I watched with interest what she was doing and saw as a miniature red formation appeared around her wrist like an exquisite bracelet, rotating counterclockwise. She held the CC between her fingers as if she was ready to flick it away, aiming at the unmoving body, her eyes locked on like a hawk. While she focused on the spell, I saw the appearing runes change and slot into place, and when it stopped rotating, it increased its intensity at once. I could feel the heat coming off it, as if it was a miniature furnace, before I had to avert my eyes as the light from it became dangerously bright. Of course, I wasn't going to miss her spell and watch it unfold, so I turned towards Sorbo, hearing a whistle-like sound from my left, reminding me of how fireworks sounded in my old life. What Sasha summoned, in under a minute, was a miniature version of the tablets we had developed. It was quick, its power dialed down, and if I have to describe it, she turned it from being a high-explosive shell into something that was armor-penetrating. More precise and focused. There was no explosion or loud noise. It was like a bright orange arrow flying through the air, hitting Sorbo in the head. "Okay," I lied. There was an explosion, but not what one would expect. It was his head that was blown up, seen only as a red mist from where we stood, before the body swayed, falling to the side. It was enough to usher the now 8 saboteurs to continue their walking, backing off in a hurry. Even though they may walk into the jaw of death, the hope was still there. It was better than turning around and facing certain death. They were not alone, but a group, armed to the teeth. They had a chance to survive the year, and if they succeeded, they could return. That tiny sliver of hope was all they needed. Go out and collect the equipment he had. I told Oleg while I helped my wife off the walls, smiling at her, caressing her face. Leave the body there. Yes, my lord. That was impressive. How did you do it? I don't really know how to explain it. She answered, blushing, turning towards the valley, watching the now increasingly smaller-looking group of people as they began disappearing from view. The spell is the same as what we developed. When using CC, it makes it much easier to focus. I could shrink it down and modify it with a thought to make it accommodate my intent. It was as if I saw my target when using the spell, like if he stood only a few meters from me. I wish I could cast magic to understand it. I saw that the formation was mostly the same, but why does its size change its power and effect? How can you modify it on the fly? Ugh, we will have to study that, you know. I know. She giggled, giving me a kiss. We need to develop weapons to defend ourselves. Against the winter, when monsters come, against people like them, and against anybody who would try to destroy what we built. Are you trying to prove yourself because I didn't let you join Yuri the last time? I whispered, making her blush even harder. Silly, I know you are strong. With a hug, I lifted her up, spinning around once before heading down to have lunch with my parents. I knew it from the start when I first saw you, surviving, not giving up, not even when life gave you the worst hand possible. The upcoming weeks were still loud of the aftermath of what had happened. What was surprising but pleasing to see was that when the construction restarted, there were more volunteers than ever before, and they attended Mikan's impromptu sermon on the main square, honoring those who died. It seemed that the fact she was there, helping them remove the rubble, was a great indication that she was not like the priests living in their memories. Finally, I could put it behind me and focus on visiting Dorian and his family, telling them it was time to let them move around the city with a little more freedom. None of them complained about being told to queue up in their new homes until now, and when I took him to the palace, sitting down in my garden for an afternoon coffee and cookies, he finally relaxed enough to start speaking. I am amazed at your city, Lord Leon. Sovereign, Luna corrected him while pouring coffee into his cup, making Sasha giggle while covering her mouth. My apologies, Sovereign Leon. It is fine, I smiled at him. I am glad you think so. We worked hard to build it, and we still have a lot of things to improve on. About that, can I be honest? You can be blunt. I looked at him with one eye, watching him collect his courage before speaking his mind. What you are doing here is high treason. I am well aware. In the future, the frontier will be known as Avalon. That's all there is to it. To my surprise, he wasn't panicking or trying to dissuade me. Instead, he leaned back, thinking, slowly sipping on his coffee before speaking again. Your people have already decided they are going to follow you. They are different than the people living in Lothlia. Can I be part of their world, Sovereign Leon? You can. That is why I brought you here, Dorian. While I raised my cup, Sasha took out a thin document and presented it to him, one that we worked on in the past few days. Mr. Dorian, she began with a kind but authoritative voice, we are still in the middle of raising enough animals in our territory, but soon we will have ample sheep to start harvesting their wool. Your previous expertise will be perfect to industrialize it. Industrialize? He asked back, looking at the papers, trying to read them but also listening to us, getting confused in the process. You must understand that what we are planning will not be yours. Sasha continued, but we would pay you well for the work. We already have aspirants who applied for permission to open clothing shops. You and your machines would drive them out of work very easily and very quickly. You are planning to introduce the sewing machines to the public? He mumbled, immersed in Sasha's handwriting. Of course we would. The plans he bought in the past were perfect for us. I treated it as my reward for busting their little budding crime ring. Yes, I confirmed it for him. They will be built by us, and citizens will be able to lease them or buy them outright. Of course, that won't be cheap, but it is the same as what we planned for the printing press. You will serve as an example to show them their advantage and why they are priced so high. You will be employed by me to run the manufacturing of my army's uniforms. I will let you design and produce it, and I will buy it from you to equip my soldiers. I want something that looks elegant and inspiring. It must have a cool factor. A what? He blinked his eyes, not understanding me. It has to look like something that other nobles would be jealous of. Sasha tapped on the table, turning his attention back to the documents. That would need more than just wool. He mumbled, already calculating in his mind, getting excited that he could work again. This is where you will going to have free rein. Sasha continued, select an area where you will need your workshop. We will build it for you, while our blacksmiths create the machinery. It will be your job as the expert to plan it out and tell us what you need to succeed. General Oleg will escort you back soon, so you can start planning. Take your time, read through what we need of you, and present it to us after you devise proper strategies for it to happen. Dorian, I added, making him look at me, gulping because my face showed I was deathly serious, don't try to embezzle us. Never, Sovereign Leon, I would never dare, he cried, going to his knees and bowing toward me. This is your one and only chance. Succeed with it, and you will have a place amongst us Avalonians. Fail, and you and your family will be made to make the walk. The walk? He asked, raising his head, turning white. Towards the other side of the mountains. You are evil, Sasha moaned while she bounced up and down on me on the same night, having Luna hugging her from behind and licking her neck. You know he is a tyrant, my little maid-wife added, playing with Sasha's nipples. Ha, you were just as bad, I answered, holding her waist. Did I corrupt you? Yes, but it does feel, nice. I like it. Dorian is still a prisoner, I continued while enjoying our nightly activity and discussing what had happened throughout the day. We can't be lenient with him, or he might think he can get away with everything. For now he will get more sticks and less carrot. I want a carrot too, Luna whispered, looking at me over Sasha's shoulder, her mismatched eyes glowing with desire. Today is my turn. My queen answered her commandingly, shooting her down at once and also slamming her waist down on me even more forcefully, milking me dry. You will wait. Until your queen got her fill. She added with a long moan, licking her lips, making Luna pout, yet continuing massaging her body, clearly even more fired up after being told off. Chapter 78. Returning Peace. End of Volume 1. I should really establish a proper testing area in the future. Maybe one hidden within the mountains, I murmured as we were a few kilometers away from Avalon, standing on an open field at the foot of the mountains. Hollowing out a cave, reinforcing it, it would take a lot of effort, and the biggest issue would be how to illuminate it, Merlin murmured in his head. He was already coming up with the resources and manpower to achieve it. It was just a random thought, I waved, chasing out my thoughts and returning to the reason we were here. We finally deconstructed the formation that was in Ignacio's hand. Engraving it onto a stone tablet, it was time to activate the spell and test its effect on a sheep we brought along. Do you think this is safe, my lord? Oleg asked as we walked a little further back, letting Merlin handle it. It should be, Sasha answered, watching with curious eyes. We confirmed all the runes within it multiple times, referencing them with the glossaries Leon have written down. It is an illusionary spell that should not affect the user. That would defeat the purpose. I nodded, agreeing with her. Otherwise, why would a mage use it? We just couldn't determine its effects. We wonder if this one places someone under control, causes them to forget things, or makes them tell the truth. All of those are possible outcomes, but we will only know after testing because we have yet to be experienced enough to recognize the exact combination. Why on a sheep? We can't test on people. If it is about control, it should affect any living being the same, I answered, thinking I should have kept one of the saboteurs back for this test, but it was too late for that. I'm starting, Merlin shouted, activating the tablet without using his reinforcing ability, making me smile proudly. He is improving day by day. I wonder how strong he will get later on. When the tablet came to life, it lit up in a faint pinkish color before breaking apart with a resounding crack. Well, that was anticlimactic. Nothing had happened. The sheep continued to stand there, grazing the grass, ignoring us, and Merlin was just as baffled, looking at the two halves of stone in his hands. Did we make a mistake? He asked, turning towards us, looking just as unsure as we were. You stay back, Sasha exclaimed in a way I used to, making me look at her before chuckling and nodding, watching her walk closer to Merlin. She barely got within 5 meters when she stopped and exclaimed in surprise, jumping a little. What is it? We all asked, including Merlin, who looked just as frightened. This is incredible. She took a quick step back, tilting her head, then hopping forward, laughing, walking around, looking at Merlin, making all of us baffled. Come closer, you will understand it. When we arrived beside her, I almost fell back from surprise. Coming into the invisible range of the spell, Merlin was no longer just a young-looking boy. No. Oh no. He was like a golden, shining god, exuding incredible energy from within. Something that would make most people kneel. Holy shit, he looked cool. Super cool. Even though he was shorter than me, I felt like I was looking up at him. What the? Oleg asked, finding it hard to believe. When Merlin spoke up within that circle of influence, his voice sounded like an ethereal boom coming from everywhere, louder and deeper than his usual tone. What is it? Even his voice is being affected, I whispered, confusing him. It isn't him that is being changed, but our perception of him. Sasha corrected me at once. What? What happened to me? I don't feel it. The spell created an illusion, coming close to you. Right now, you look like the incarnation of one of the 6 gods, my wife explained with great excitement. The question is it area-bound, or is it stuck to you? I hope it isn't permanent, Merlin cried out, because he knew that would introduce big problems for us. Shouldn't be. Otherwise, his grandson would have been seen as a living god and wouldn't be able to hide. Merlin, go towards the sheep. Let's see if the spell is bound to you or to the area it was activated in. As we watched, he approached the animal, and the moment he got close to it, the sheep began crying out after seeing his transformation, running away in fear. It is stuck to him. Sasha nodded, crossing her arms, thinking the same thing I did. The moment we were 5 or so meters away from Merlin, he returned to being normal, no longer affecting our minds. It was as if an invisible bubble surrounded him, distorting our perception of his whole being. We had to wait almost an hour for it to finally disperse. Was it because, drawn onto the tablet, it was bigger, or was it always this potent? Anyway, next time, we tried it with Sasha activating it, and this time she looked like a powerful goddess for another hour, confirming that it was an illusion spell through and through. Well, I mean, she does look like a goddess anyway, especially when she wears nothing. I don't think it would have worked on you, Sasha said jokingly as we were discussing what each of us saw, making sure we had seen the same changes and it wasn't different in any detail. Probably not. After thinking about it, I agreed, but it would have made me doubt what to do. If his grandson looked like a shining golden god, I would have trouble deciding what to do next, being unsure if I could even ambush them. So I am glad it did not happen. I wonder if I can modify it, Merlin murmured, drawing on the ground with a stick, leaving certain spots empty for a different rune. It could be a good tool to be used by Yuri and her Black Ops squad, or even in interrogating others. Using it to drench our enemies in fear can make things much more easier. I would also look into expanding its sphere of influence. Sasha added, watching him draw, for now it is too limited. What if we could enlarge it to a scale that covers the whole city? And we could hide it. I snapped my fingers. It doesn't need to make Avalon look glorious or scary. It would simply make the city invisible to the naked eye. Then we wouldn't need to worry if someone discovers us. That... They looked at me, and I already knew what they wanted to say. Yes. That kind of spell is not something we can dream of. I don't think that it would be possible even if we had the biggest CC known to men. I know. The scale of something like that is not something we can afford, but aiming high is not a sin. As time went on, we finally had peaceful weeks ahead of us. The second attempt at the temple was coming along nicely. With the vigor of people jumping in and wanting to help, it was already at the stage where it was being decorated by Perth. He also asked to be allowed to carve the dead workers' names onto one of the inner walls, forever encasing them in Avalon's memory. Of course, both Mykan and I agreed, announcing it to the public. I was with her right now in my study, looking through the article she wrote for the soon debuting Avalon News, detailing her views of the six gods and their teachings. I find no issues with this, so I will send this down to be printed. Thank you, my lord. She smiled at me over her new glasses that arrived only 2 days ago. The church's delegation that delivered it to the old town didn't notice anything weird, and by Mykan's words, they were hurrying to unload and leave, disgusted by our barbaric land. Good. Maybe I should spread some nasty rumors, eh? Anyway, I was now in a dilemma. The glasses were something very important and valuable, but I also needed pure glass. Still haven't decided yet, she chuckled, seeing my wondering expression. With her glasses, she could finally see better, and just as I expected, she fell over much fewer times. Well, unless her chest blocked something out of sight and she tripped over it. I think I will keep half of it back for unique cases. With the 20 you got us, it would be too few to make enough flasks for an alchemy shop anyway. What about the other half? You have an idea? Yes, I already discussed it with Sasha, but it will take time to perfect it. She is now studying the glasses, their shape, and the glass's focal point. She is developing methods to replicate the convex lenses and even improve on their design. She can mold them easily because she is immune to fire and heat, so I entrusted her with an important task. I want to create a microscope. What is that? An object that will let you see tiny things if you look into it. I don't know what use we will have for it yet, but I want to gift it to my first alchemist. Maybe it will help her with future projects. I shrugged, smiling while stretching in my chair. Just as I did, the door opened and Luna walked in, bringing us coffee and snacks. Master, she started, swaying her hips. The little foxy knew full well that tonight would be her turn to be the main character in bed. Minister Paxson sent a message that the initial tests are a success. They can open and close the new castellums, and the purifiers work perfectly. They began installing the pipings, and they will be able to connect them to the palace before winter. Is that the central heating system? Mykan asked, looking at her and then turning towards me. Yes, it is. I smiled proudly, sipping on my drink, reaching out and gently patting Luna's buttocks. Thank you, my dear. I am glad the first tests went smoothly. I still find it hard to believe you came up with it, implemented it, and without any magical abilities. Why? I asked with honest astonishment, watching her surprised golden eyes. I need to work harder to change my thinking, she murmured, forming an authentic smile while looking into my eyes, which was interrupted by Luna standing between us and offering me cookies. I think both of us knew she did it intentionally, as I saw the jealousy in her mismatched eyes. Maybe you are right, Mykan, I answered, letting my maid put the cookie into my mouth before she returned behind me, massaging my shoulders. You even failed to accept that your eyes were bad because mages can't have defects, as you told me. It is time to open up your mind more and let loose your imagination. Don't be afraid to experiment. Master, Luna interrupted, clearing his throat, making the usually shy Mykan laugh, covering her mouth, changing the topic. About the newspaper, I am really curious about it. I can't wait to buy one, but I have been thinking. How will it be profitable for you? It won't. That is not why I established it and recruited people for it. It will cost 1 silver coin, so almost everyone can pay for it, and we will only accept our new coins. It is time to begin the conversion, and it will be one of its best motivators. We will post articles in it every week, informing the people of what is happening in Avalon and what the news is. They will never be clueless about what is happening and why. What about these advertisements? If you raise their prices, she murmured, making me smile. If I raised them to 1 gold, it would maybe, just maybe, be profitable. But that is not the goal here. The first issue will be filled with advertising the openings in the military. regarding the city guard and some of the books that we printed. There will be a whole section dedicated to how the advertising is going to work, and we have set up the proper department for it. Avalon News will be the base for what everyone else will have to follow if they want to print their own newspapers later. I am amazed you are letting them do it. In the capital, there are no newspapers, and all information is spread through brokers for a high price. This is unheard of. She is right, Master, Luna agreed, echoing Mikan's words. The royal decrees are the only things that are printed and distributed in the city, but only nobles get them. They are tasked with informing the others below them and so on. Otherwise, it is very lucrative to deal in news and secrets, one of the favorite weapons of the local nobles. It is worth more than gold to know something others don't. Printing out a weekly paper, for this cheap and telling everyone what is happening. They would call you crazy. Weird. It is the best propaganda method. Maybe those syndicates you told me about, these secret brokers, are too powerful for their own good. I whispered a word that they were already familiar with because of a previous explanation. I will make sure that no more saboteurs arise from within my people, and they will stand united. Because if they do, there is nothing we couldn't achieve. I couldn't help but stand up myself, walk to my window and look towards the bright blue sky, smiling. I bless my luck to be born here and not anywhere else. I am free of those 1,000-year dogmas and idiocy. And I looked back over my shoulder, watching the two girls. We are just getting started.